CTV.
All right.
I mean, that is kind of the standard thing you should do in that scenario.
We get everyone on WebEye. Now I need to make CTV unmute.
Oh, did you just mention something and then it just happened? It's amazing how I can read your mind, geek.
See? We're on the same
All right,
way.
hold on. I do gotta change shirts. Hold on.
Hell yeah.
Oh, why can't we be twinsies? Can't be twinsies. Come on.
Oh my god. Doing it on stream.
Oh no.
Banned.
TOS.
I took my shirt
I
off
mean,
on
he's
Twitch
doing
and all I
it
got
from
was
the
this
back.
lousy
We're
t-shirt.
good so far. All right, so everyone is ready.
Against TOS.
Where's your hot tub?
Are we in just chatting?
Hang on, I'll be right back.
Listen, I'm in politics, but everything is politics. All right.
It's not against TOS if you don't show nips, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
True.
What
All
if,
right.
Is it like half a nip? Is it like a third of a nip? Like when does it become enough of a nip for a
I
strike?
think it's
Does anybody
just.
know?
I think it's just the nip, like any part of the nip.
They zoom, basically, they have
So
a
even 1%
technology
of
to
nip is
Twitch
too much.
where they zoom and they can see. If they see like 1 pixel, it's over.
Oh, okay. So they have nip pixel checker AI. That makes sense.
But it's okay when you're in a pool or hot tub stream, right?
Oh yeah.
Because my heart-shaped pasties fell off during my pool stream.
You gotta get the X's, the crosses.
Yeah, if you
That's
haven't
right.
seen it, I highly recommend
right.
you go watch it.
Since everyone is ready, everyone is on cam, and everyone gets sound and everything working, I think we're good to start. So, yeah. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this. I'm not even going to say that we're relaunching, because this has to be the third relaunch just for 2021. So, yeah, just a normal episode of the Hippy Dippy Recruitment. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Really appreciate it. Yeah, let's start by a quick round of introduction. Starting by CTV.
All right.
The
Welcome
myth,
everybody to the
the
Hippy
man,
Dippy
the
Sunday
legend.
panel, right? I am your man, critically thinking veteran, the conservative main boss, right? Going to be participating here on these particular topics. If you were watching Hippy Dippy on Friday, you would know that 2 of the 3 topics, because I don't know what the secret bonus fun time is, right? I've already talked about. So what I'm going to largely be trying to do, right, is to kind of let all of you, all wonderful people that decide to be here Sunday, right, today for this, to be able to be expressive about your ideas in the most respectful way possible, while also trying to make the fucking people laugh, because you know why? It's fucking Sunday. Everybody should be able to, kick back, have a smoke, have a fucking drink, right? Relax and have some fun with this shit. Develop your own personal kind of flavor, right? That is ultimately going to be able to perpetuate and push yourself in the Twitch politics community to some of the other bigger panels. That's what you're hoping for, right? That's what everybody was hoping for, myself included, wherever I got started. So this is why CTV is here, right? Game on, right? To help everybody out. I'm looking forward to a good conversation with each and every single one of you. And that's about it. Geek, take it away.
Hell yeah.
Amen.
I'm going to throw it to Ethan. You're
And he's
muted.
Still muted.
Sorry about that. I was
See-
getting a terrible echo on my own stream. I apologize. So my name is Ethan, known as Ethan Plays Live on YouTube, Twitch, all the places. Used to be known as Progressive Liberal back when I was on Mixer. Changed that up so that I could be the same name everywhere. And I'm happy to be here. Do you want to know about, I studied political science in college. I've worked for PACs, worked in the nonprofit space for most of my professional life. I'm just a politics nerd and I love politics.
Nice. Good to know. And I also know that you have great choice. How can I say it? Good taste when it comes to microphone. That's all I have to say.
This is true. Yes, we found out that we were basically twins. Yes.
Exactly. Artizoid, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me back. Yeah, I'm Zoid. I usually play games, but I do like to argue. So I'm on some panels every once in a while. So hopefully we have some fun.
Yeah. No justice.
Hey, Geek. Can you do me a favor and just turn your mic up, the gain maybe just a little bit? I got you to 130%, brother, and you're just kind of coming in.
Listen, blame Danabo for that. He told me that
Oh,
my mic was way higher than everyone. So
No,
way
that's fucking
louder.
awesome. I love it. I love it.
All right. No Justice, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Thanks for the invite to the panel as always. Yes, I'm No Justice. It's No Justice MTG on all the socials. I'm a leftist, trade unionist, Brit Bonger rights activist, general political junkie, and just enjoy the content. So thanks for the invite.
Anytime. Happy to have you on board. XUSR.
Yeah. USR. I mostly play games. I haven't streamed in a while, but I'm a social democrat leftist. Whatever label you want to put on me, but first kind of panel, so I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Happy to have you on. Preacher, how are you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm good. Doing good. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome. I am Preacher570 here on Twitch. My other socials don't really matter. I am constitutional conservative. I'm divorced, so it's not that I can't argue. I just choose not to argue these days. I would rather civil debate. Yeah, I love doing this show. The show I have over on Preacher570, Monday through Friday. Sundays I do a ministry message, and we're part of an awesome group of people that work out of the Infinity Acre Woods Discord. And you should come over and join us sometime and see it. Check it out.
Hell yeah. One of the best Discord and one of the best community. Hell yeah. daFRO, how are you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good.
Thanks for having me on. I'm a sock dem. I usually just play video games on Twitch because I don't like just preaching to 0 people or just my friends or my mom. So, you know, I play games, and then I have been going on like different panels and stuff for fun, and I've been enjoying it. So I'm glad to be here.
Nice. Happy to have you on board. Last but not least, n0rthcountryman, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. North Countryman. Truth be told, I haven't streamed in the past month. I just was dealing with burnout and depression, but I'm slowly easing my way back into it. In terms of politics, I've spent 10 years either studying politics or teaching it at the college level. And when I'm not doing that, I'm an amateur Abraham Lincoln cosplayer.
Yeah. But yeah, happy to have you on. What do you do on stream? Like, do you stream? What do you do on stream? What do you talk about? Where can people find you?
I tend to do politics 101, political economy 101, a little bit of history. I'm planning on doing a thing on the French Revolution and its impact on modern day politics.
Ooh, when?
And sometimes I fight playing Dark Souls because I oddly find that relaxing.
I think this is the first time someone says that about Dark Souls, but okay. Yeah, we'll talk later about the French Revolution stream. Yeah, so let's go over the rule real quick. Yeah, so first rule. Nothing TOS, obviously, don't misgender people. When I speak, it's purely to moderate. I will not give my take on the topic, no matter how frustrated I am. So yeah, if I speak, no one speak. So the format of the show is we have 3 topics. We have opening statement. Try to make them as short as possible, 1 minute top. I will get the timer this time. When like basically when you're out of time, I will try to wave or to make you like give you a signal, like just to tell you like you're out of time. So yeah, opening statement, period where you can engage, closing statement. Again, opening, closing, try to make them as short as possible. Do not interrupt people during opening or closing. And the last time that you can address a topic is during the opening of the next topic. After that, you have to move on. What else? I think that's pretty much it. We got, we got all the rules. So yeah, let's start with this. Real quick. I know I should wait a little bit, but yeah, this panel was only possible, and I know that you all have been contacted by daFRO, who has done a wonderful work putting this panel together. So yeah, twitch.tv/daFRO. Yeah, big shout out for his help, and also shellshockcbd.com. Enter the code daFRO, and you get 10% off. CBD is amazing. So yeah, yeah. With that being said, let's go directly into the topics, and the first topic is Afghanistan. So yeah, like I said before during the pre-show, take it wherever you want. If you want to talk about the recent bombing on the airport, you can do that. If you want to talk about like Biden with like withdraw from Afghanistan, you can do that. Like take it wherever you want. And we're going to open with Artizoid.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess what I would say about Afghanistan is that it was a poorly planned, poorly executed conflict with a poorly planned and poorly executed withdrawal. I guess I kind of don't buy the excuse that Biden couldn't have done anything because Trump set up the timetable for withdrawal, considering Trump basically his whole tenure was him pulling out of stuff or canceling stuff that Obama had gotten us into. So I don't really buy that. Is it his, or does he bear the brunt of responsibility? Of course, just because he's the president. So I guess it would just kind of depend on what everybody, or kind of how the conversation goes. It's so I guess I'll kind of just leave it for the discussion.
Sorry, I'm muted. All right, I'm going to throw it to No Justice.
I'm sure we'll get into plenty of things here. I think clearly obviously it was all kind of started in general because the Doha Agreement was just so inconsequential as with regard to it maintaining peace in the region. Clearly, whether people withdrew now or any time later on was clearly going to be inconsequential, as the tens of thousands of Afghan security forces were not able to hold Afghanistan, and the 2,500 US troops probably weren't completely consequential to that. However, leaving $62 million worth of military hardware behind for the Taliban to then commandeer probably wasn't a good idea either. So yeah, there was clearly the departure had to happen at some point, but clearly it was bungled in certain respects as well.
All right, I'm going to throw it to ex-USR.
Yeah, Afghanistan was a mistake from the beginning. I don't think this is all Biden's fault, but he is the president, so in a way it is. But been there so long, so it was only a matter of time before he pulled out, and this shit show would have happened anyway. But yeah, Biden could have definitely done it better. I'm not gonna play defense for him, so yeah, kind of my take on it.
All right, daFRO.
Yeah, so I would say that it was certainly like bungled in some respects. Like I think people who wanted to evacuate Afghanistan should have been able to get out much quicker, or like should have been like given access to be able to leave quicker. But like regardless, I think that there is some merit in like there's a lot of criticism surrounding like leaving Bagram. I think that there is some there's an understanding there that could be given some charitability to where like they want to consolidate forces in Kabul, but we could go more into that later on. So we get into it.
All right, Preacher.
Yeah, when you leave it open to anything Afghanistan, we can go back 20 years. Should we have been there? Probably not. The fact that we were there 20 years, I've always said we need to get out of there. A pullout was inevitable. I agree with this can't be laid on while Trump had set this in motion, because you've seen Biden scrap so much of what Trump had done through executive order. So now all of a sudden he doesn't know how to. I do believe the pullout itself does fall on Biden because he did scrap the plan that Trump had. He ignored everything, and just the way he did it, you should do civilians, equipment, then troops, not troops, and then, oh my, we left civilians and equipment behind. So yeah, Afghanistan's a big subject, and we can go for 5 or 6 hours on that alone, so I'll leave it at that.
All right. I'm going to throw it to North Countryman.
So the evacuation, the bombing, all of this would not have happened had Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, had better leadership, which is something that the U.S. could have helped them develop, but we didn't use the particular tools that we had in order to develop that. And we'll definitely go into more details, but with the numbers of the Afghan security forces, their training combined with anti-Taliban ground forces in the form of regional leaders, there was no reason that the Taliban should have been able to take over as they did. And so, from my perspective, this is a complete failure of leadership on the part of Kabul, and where Afghanistan goes from here, it's really up to who's going to take up that leadership role.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Ethan.
Well, the brunt of the responsibility falls on George W. Bush, Paul Wolfowitz, Dick Cheney, Don Rumsfeld, and Tony Blair, who were there at the beginning, who pushed for this when people like me said we shouldn't. I was called unpatriotic. I was told I didn't support my troops. I was told I should leave the United States. Beyond that, we can't absolve any president that has been in charge while this was going on, and that includes Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. Biden was president for the least amount of time. And I think the biggest mistake that Trump made, beyond negotiating directly with the Taliban instead of involving the Afghan government, which was a huge blunder, was that he refused to have his intelligence apparatus advise the incoming Biden administration because he was addicted to this lie that he was somehow not reelected legitimately. And that is a huge failure because the Biden administration had to come in with no intelligence. They did their best and they failed. And it is a failure of Biden, and it is a failure of Biden's intelligence apparatus. But when he had to jump into the pool, not knowing what was beneath him, and now he's frickin' drowning. And we're all drowning. And most importantly, the people in Afghanistan are drowning and they are dying, and it is our fault. If you ask any of them whose fault it is, they will say it is every single U.S. citizen's fault.
All right. I'm going to throw it to CTV.
So, like, so let's just kind of break down what everybody has said so far, right? North Countryman, me and you are going to probably end up disagreeing a little bit, but Ethan, we are definitely going to disagree, right? Oh, no, you're not. You were expecting this. You were expecting this. That's why you're grinning. I love shit-eating grins.
I mean, I
need
follow
to know.
you on Twitch. Like, it's fine.
It's good content.
Anyway, so like the reason why is it like the government puts the bureaucracy in place, right, through classified fucking security levels, right, for information, right? The incoming administration is not a part of the government yet because they haven't been elected. They haven't taken these seats, right? So then, like, you could argue that Trump's particular administration wasn't sharing information, but that doesn't stop the same information from being held by the bureaucracies. And then once the people get into office, then they take over the government from there. So you could say that there was a non-cooperation in the meantime, but it can't be completely justified based off of the fact that there were no security clearances, et cetera, et cetera. It was a contentious time, right? I mean, we had leftists that were screaming that January the 6th was an insurrection, right? When in fact, right, the FBI said there was no coordinated effort, so like, we're just kind of right here. But North Countryman, right, when it comes to Afghanistan, dude, like that place has been in contention for, ever since there was fucking recorded history, right? I don't think there's ever been like a time of relative peace in Afghanistan. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's right in the middle, right, of the Middle East, right? Or the or Central Asia rather, right? So like you got Russia to the north, you got China, it borders China on the east side, right? It's got Iraq on the west, Pakistan right there below it to the east. It's just always been a point of contention, right? Even to the days of Alexander, whenever he decided to march over the Hindu Kush, so the only way that there was ever going to be any stability in that particular region of the world is if that particular piece of land would have been a state to the United States. And given that fact, that's the only way that the American people would have actually held the land, right? Because it's obvious, and it should be obvious to everybody at this point, that if the Afghan people wanted to control their own destiny, instead of it being controlled by the Taliban, they would have picked up the guns that were still sitting there that the Taliban now have possession of. They would have marched their ass on over to these fucking depots, picked up all those weapons, and went to fucking war themselves, but they chose not to, right? So it's like you could argue like the types of, you know, governments that got put in place, or, you know, any of these number of things, but at the core of it, it comes down to the people themselves didn't believe in their own freedoms enough to be willing to pick up a rifle and fight for it. That's how I feel about it. But,
No,
you know,
I think the
obviously,
core of-
this is still, right? So we'll get into that open discussion in a minute. So, like, with all that being said, my goal here is to kind of sit back and let everybody else talk this thing out. I just want to make sure my thoughts are put out there ahead of time to everyone for y'all to consider. And Geek, take it away.
All right, real quick. Did I forget anyone for intro statement? Perfect. Therefore, the floor is yours.
Well, I want to respond to that real quick, because the core of what we have here is a military intelligence failure. Biden operated on the intelligence that he had, which is why he took the pullout that was supposed to happen in May and put it to August. Because as people said, if we wait until August, then the Afghan security forces and the Afghan government will be ready. They were wrong. This is a military intelligence failure. Biden had to go on the information that he had, and a big part of why that military intelligence failure happened is because Trump lied about the election, asserted that he was still president, and refused to work with the incoming Biden administration, including to give them the information that they needed to know whether or not the pullout was going to be successful.
Except it's not really like a blunder so much as it is just like a logical line of events, right? Rather than, and this is what the administration's thought was, right? If we tell the people, if we go ahead and start pulling out of our people, all of our people out, then, right, then it's going to create a situation in Afghanistan where the people are going to believe that, like, hey, we're not going to have any support at all, right? So we might as well just go ahead and throw our hands up now. What they were hoping to do was facilitate, right, the Afghan government taking hold and being able to fight off the Taliban, because it's not like that they weren't kind of aware, and there's only a few ways to be able to get into the ring road anyway, right? So like that was the hope, was that they didn't create a panic by pulling everybody out. But the fact that they decided to pull the military out first, right, and close Bagram Air Bases, where they created, right, the administration itself created the very fucking problems that allowed for us to have to rely on the Taliban, right, so far as security presence is concerned, that ultimately led to a suicide bomber killing our fucking people, right?
Not only
I
that,
think-
but to sit here and put this on Trump's shoulders. Trump had a plan. Biden scrapped that plan. This has nothing to do with military intelligence failures. Biden ignored the military intelligence. There's no way military intelligence is going to say, hey, man, why don't you pull all of those troops out of there, and then maybe we can go back and get civilians, and maybe we can get equipment that has very sensitive material. On top of that, excuse me, the military and the government had 20 years to prepare for this. If they couldn't do it in 20 years, another couple of months wasn't going to make a difference. Biden blamed Trump, saying, oh, you know, because of everything that happened, we can't get out by the end of May, so we'll make it August. He scrapped the plan that Trump's people had in plan. He entered this from a point of weakness, whereas Trump was, I disagree with him negotiating with terrorists to begin with, but at least when he did it, he said, listen, we're going to do this. If you get in our way, we're going to blow you off the face of the earth. Whereas Biden said, okay, what we're going to do is we're leaving all this equipment, civilians behind, and hey, by the way, you're never going to take Kabul. And the Taliban said, challenge accepted. I mean, you had how many parts of Afghanistan being taken by the Taliban on the way? At any one point, they could have stepped in and said, damn, we need to activate this plan. And then when it all fell out, as it was going to, the contingency plan that they had to get the people out wasn't activated until it was way too late. And that's why we now had people stranded there, soldiers being killed. This doesn't fall on Trump or anything like that. Now, Afghanistan, yes, someone said it before. We had plenty of presidents who could have pulled us out earlier. Remember, Biden was one of those vice presidents to that president also.
So I don't understand. So you're saying that the plan that he scrapped Trump's plan. This was Trump's plan. This was Trump's plan to pull out. I don't understand what you're saying. How did he
Let's be
scrap
real.
Trump's
Let's,
plan?
and let's be
Trump's
real.
plan was to pull out in May, wasn't it?
Excuse me, sir, like Trump had no plan. The Doha Agreement completely failed. Even after that, it wasn't organized with the help of the Afghan government. The Taliban was still colluding with the Al Qaeda and performing insurgencies. Even after the Doha Agreement, at this point, the May the 1st date was completely arbitrary. I'm not going to defend Biden's withdrawal. It was completely bungled. I absolutely agree. But to say that Trump had some kind of grand plan other than just some words that he was saying towards the Taliban about what he would do in retaliation to them, that's not a plan. That's just empty words. Again, like, you can't say that Trump had any sort of genuine idea of how he was going to do the pullout, especially so far in advance as well.
If we're being
Trump also said,
hold on.
real
If we're
quick,
being-
just 1 second. Trump said that no one could stop his troop pullout. That is a direct quote from Trump.
Can I just
Right.
add something real quick? And I forgot what I was gonna say. Artie Zoid, you were gonna say something?
Well, I was gonna say, if we're being real, then I don't think, like, it's kind of a reach to say that had a withdrawal happen under Trump that it would have gone any better. Like, Afghanistan isn't really a place that like, it's not very secure. So I don't see anything different happening had Trump gone through with the withdrawal when he was still in office. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the thing I wanted to add was that you said that, like, if in Trump's plan that, like, if the Taliban had, like, made any advancements or whatever, that we would quote unquote bomb the fuck out of them or whatever. I don't know what you said actually, but you said we would be hostile towards them. I mean, like, even after the agreement was, like, made, the Taliban continued to take, like, more and more provinces in Afghanistan, and Trump continued with the pullout as scheduled. So I mean, like, to say that, like, and not to mention, we also, like, let out in an agreement, we exchanged 5,000 Taliban POWs for 1,000 U.S. soldiers, or U.S. POWs, which is valuable to get those 1,000 people out. But I would say that, like, we should be able to do some better negotiating with our military strength compared to the Taliban. I would think.
All right, there's a lot there.
Yeah, there is. Sorry for piling on.
No, that's all right. I'll let North Countryman go, then I'll try and respond to everybody who had something to say about what I had said. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of good points. There's parts of good points from a lot of what people are saying here. First and foremost, I think we're just going to get absolutely nowhere in terms of a discussion. We're not going to come to any kind of answer or conclusion or learn anything if we focus on Donald Trump and January 6th.
Agreed.
That's just, honestly, if that happens, I'm just going to put the hat on and take a nap. But as to the pullout and the bombings, I'm going to refer back to what I said in my opening statement, is that this is kind of like closing the barn door after the horses have left. What could have happened? This was the kind of nation building that was going on in Afghanistan was doomed to fail. It was post-World War II European style, and that just wouldn't work in Afghanistan. The tribal loyalties are too strong, and they're too well known. It'd be, and I can get more into that later. But where was I going with this? I say go to Preacher because I just lost my train of thought.
All right.
Well, I'll fill in for the moment. RD, you said something interesting, right? You said Afghanistan is not secure, right? Afghanistan, being where it's at in the Hindu Kush, would actually not be that hard of an area to secure with the right things in place. There's only a few roads that actually run in from other countries, right? To be able to connect to the ring road that runs around the entire country. That is what constitutes the bulk, right? If not all of the main infrastructure for Afghanistan. This is where, like, I sit there and I'll argue for, if we were going to be there, it needed to be a state, because at least if it was a state, right, then there would be an vested interest on behalf of the United States to be there. But because of the mountains, it can be very secure if done properly. But whenever you've got a border, right, that was drawn up in the 1800s by the British, and it's not being evaluated along, right, the real lines when it comes to what North Countryman is talking about with regard to loyalties among tribal lines, right, or ethno lines, as Heem said on Friday night, right? The ethnos state. That's where, like, because the lines weren't actually drawn up in a way that works for where the peoples are, that's where a lot of the problems come in.
If I could just
I would like for
Current-
Preacher. I'm sorry. I would like for Preacher to respond because he has been. There's a lot of people who attack this claim. So yeah, go ahead, Preacher.
Yeah, I'm going to try and remember it all. I do agree with CTV that Afghanistan is a defendable place or a securable place as far as logistics go. But I also agree, if I got Artie right, that the infighting is what makes it so unsecure, is that they're constantly at war with each other. And so, yeah, no matter what we did, and that was always my battle, that my argument over 20 years, we were coming in with Western democracy. We were never, ever going to win fighting religious ideology. We just weren't. However, what I was saying about Trump's plan was, and we don't know the full of it because obviously he wasn't reelected. He didn't go through with it, but he did have a plan. And let's take Trump, the name, off of it. Let's say his generals had a plan. The intelligence community had a plan. Maybe not him so much. But what I was saying is, just like he had a plan for the southern border, that was scrapped. It's in the same aspect. Biden scrapped what Trump was working on. He scrapped it all, and whatever, political ideology aside, I don't even care why. And I'm not saying this because I hate Biden. I don't like Biden. I don't agree with him. I would never vote for him in a million years, but that's because he's politics as usual to me, and I don't like that. I'm not saying this because I hate him. He did not rely on firm intelligence. If he would have relied on firm intelligence, it would have went a much different way. And yes, they were taking other parts even after the plan was talked about and Trump was still going ahead. We're not worried about, and this is going to sound horrible when I say this, we're not worried about Afghan fighting so much as we were worried about getting our people, the Afghan helpers, and our military and equipment out of there. So if they're going to fight each other in southwestern Afghanistan, let them fight each other in southwestern Afghanistan. We're trying to get the innocent people, the military equipment, and the troops out of there. That's what we were worried about. Unfortunately, like I said, he did it completely reverse. Let them know, okay, all our troops are out of there on this night, and, well, shit.
I would just real quick. I just want to say, like, yeah, as far as secure goes, I didn't mean, like, obviously Afghanistan is defensible considering I won't say kind of struggle here and there, but we've struggled to kind of eradicate what we've been trying to do, even though I won't say like that was the total mission. If the total mission was to like complete eradication of like Al Qaeda or the Taliban, it could have been more of a bloodbath, but we're obviously hampered by just the rules that were placed on ourselves. But I would kind of disagree with the idea that like the generals or the brass knew, because like with the Afghanistan papers, that showed that like the brass didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have a clear objective overall. So I guess like instead of just being like, oh, is this administration or is that administration, I just think it would be a total waste if we don't reevaluate what the purpose of our military is based on Afghanistan. If we're gonna go around thinking that we can just install democracy anywhere, then it's a waste. But if we reevaluate the role of the military to be what it's made to do, then I think then we can at least walk away with something worthwhile.
I think there's something to pull from.
I was
pull
just
from
gonna...
what?
Okay, you go.
Yeah.
So.
I think there's something to pull from what Artie Zoid and CTV have both said. And just to illustrate the idea of Afghanistan as defensible, the current resistance, the Panjshir Valley, which I'm pretty sure I did not say that correctly, part of the reason why that's where the resistance is so strong is because they've got a lot of valleys. And if you study military history, you know narrow valleys are very important. Add to it that particular valley, very heavily Tajik. The Tajik people in Afghanistan tend to do a lot of resistance, just historically, and by not acknowledging that with the style of government that the U.S. tried to put in place, a heavily centralized power, these kind of ethnic lines were never going to be resolved. And so what I think could have potentially worked, and this is a big, gigantic if, is looking at the style of government that you have in Lebanon or Northern Ireland, where you have to have certain representation. In Lebanon, it's based on religious groups. In Northern Ireland, I think it's based on Republican and Unionist. That, in my view, is probably the only way you could have any kind of democracy work in Afghanistan and have local buy-in. But I do need to point out that Lebanon and Northern Ireland, their governments both recently fell apart because of resignations. So, big giant if.
Yeah.
The other
It's
issue
not
is
an
we have
easy
this, I
thing
mean,
to do.
the thing
Can I
is as
respond to
well
what
is that
Preacher-
if you go by the Asia Foundation survey in 2019, over half the population who took part in the survey, at the very least in Afghanistan, they felt that there was reconciliation available with the Taliban. Right? At what point could people have come in and said, well, if we're going to be some kind of peace deal, why are the Taliban not getting representation? Which is what the people of Afghanistan thought was something that could be achieved to achieve peace. Because at the end of the day, that's what most people in Afghanistan want. Right? We spend all of this time talking about trying to apportion blame to some Western power rather than actually concentrating what the people of Afghanistan want, which is not to be threatened with, being killed, right?
That's true.
I just think
I want to
think
fade to daFRO first, and after that.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to something that Preacher said a little while ago, which was that we should have gotten the what's it called? The soldiers out first, and then we should get the civilians, the equipment, and then the soldiers, right? So I think first, I think I agree. Like, we should have prioritized getting civilians out for sure, like much earlier, especially when the drawdown first occurred under Trump. I'm not like playing blame game or anything. I'm just stating like the timeline of how things went. And then like two, like the equipment, I'm pretty sure the understanding was that the Afghan National Army would be able to stand for like 3 to 6 months. I could be wrong on that. And so like their idea was that the Afghan National Army would be able to use that equipment. But obviously, once they left Bagram airfield, a lot of looters took that shit. So it was like a big miscalculation and a bungle there. Absolutely. But for another thing, I think you said we shouldn't have left Bagram. This, like, I could understand the argument for, but I just want to say, like, I think it makes sense to leave the Bagram base to consolidate forces near the civilian airport. I'm no foreign policy expert. I play some real-time strategy games, some 4Xs. I don't know shit, but I know a little bit. All right. But like I think there's at least some merit in trying to consolidate troops where there are going to be the majority of innocent civilians who are going to want to come, to the United States or neighboring countries, because like I think from the city center of Kabul, like from what I've read, like the civilian airport is like 2.5 clicks away, and then like the Bagram airfield is like 40 clicks away, so and I think it has very limited entrances as well, so like logistically it might be kind of difficult, and also you might run the risk of like terrorists being in the airfield with a bunch of civilians, access to the arsenal and everything. And, that's like really debatable because it's like a fucking alternative timeline, but yeah, that's just what I would say.
Real quick, I just want to remind everybody that Trump did brag that he didn't need an exit strategy in Afghanistan. He did brag that he was smarter than all of his generals. So this idea that somehow if he'd been reelected that this would have gone better is complete and utter. I'm just stunned that you can
complete and utter fantasy by you, because the fact that he wasn't reelected foregoes there being any possibility of any knowledge to those events as they would have played out, right?
But that's basically what Preacher was saying, unless I misheard him.
You totally misheard me, because what I said was we don't know what would have happened because he was not reelected. We can't say. If he's not reelected, how am I going to say what exactly would have happened? But I mean, Trump bragged about a lot of stuff. He bragged he's the greatest in the world. He bragged he's the greatest in the world. That did it make it true? No. Obviously, we know he's not smarter than his military generals. We know he can't do stuff on his own. Anybody who sits back and thinks that Trump sat in that Oval Office and made all those decisions completely on his own is a fool to not understand his administration is there for a reason, and there are people underneath him for a reason. He can go on microphone at any podium and say whatever the hell he wants, which was an issue I had with him as a person, not as a president. As a president, I liked his policies. As a person, yeah, he's a brash asshole.
But my point is that this was his plan. So we can't say that it's 100% Biden's fault and that and just absolve him of any guilt.
How was it Trump's plan?
Well, the initial drawdown was definitely Trump's plan, and I think
No, you're right. The initial drawdown was,
and he drew it down from like 13,000 to like, well, it was like in between 3,500 and 2,500, and like I think like that limitation, like it does play a role in like limiting our capacity out there.
So then let me ask you this simple question then, right? Was it a part of Trump's plan to close Bagram Air Force Base?
No.
Which was the only one that was capable, the only airport in the region, right, that's capable of landing a heavy lift aircraft like a C-5 Galaxy before, right, and withdrawing the military before all of the American people that are there were out of the country. Was that part of Trump's plan?
No, but why didn't Trump?
Right,
like,
so it
start
wasn't.
Wait,
So
why
then
didn't
there's
Trump
no
start
way.
evacuating people from back then. when
But
he started
the
drawdown
reality of the
initially.
situation is, though, right, is that because that none of what I just said was a part of Trump's plan, and all of that was a part of Biden's fucking debacle, that's where, like, continuing to try to harp on Trump, just like North Countryman said, it's just going to be a non sequitur and a waste of time, because I'm going to be able to shoot all kinds of holes into these arguments.
But what I'm saying
Also,
is
Joe
that
Biden
it's-
is currently the president. The buck stops with him, literally. He
but
even said that
I'm
in his
not-
own
There's
president.
even
I'm not
there's a
saying-
meme video on Remix Brothers. If you haven't seen it, right, the buck stops with me, right?
Yeah,
I know you've seen
absolutely, it
right?
does. My point is that it's not all Biden's fault. We have to recognize.
Oh, I would
that
never
there have
say
been
that.
I
four
think
presidents
literally
in
no one here
charge
is saying
over
it's all Biden's fault.
Oh.
Literally
Okay,
no
well,
one is saying that.
it's kind of coming across that way.
Oh, I'm saying that this
You need to
debacle
pay
here in
attention then if you're
Afghanistan
not if it
is
comes
all his
across that
fault.
way. That would help.
Yeah,
And
I
why
would
does
say
it matter?
that.
Why does it matter whose fault it is? What we actually need to think about is what we can actually do now that it's all happened. Right? It's done. Like
I
the
can
Taliban
tell
have
you-
taken over. We actually have to think about what we're going to do about the Afghan refugees. How's the region ever going to get stabilized? What's going to happen geopolitically moving
It's not
forward?
going to
We can
get
apportion-
stabilized. Let's just forget about it.
Yeah,
But that's
we
why
can
it's
apportion- we can apportion blame as much as we want, but it's we're wasting time.
I don't
No,
think
but
he has a
That's the point.
hold on.
There are
Hold on.
literal lives being lost in this. Their lives already lost.
Exactly.
Real quick,
That's my
sorry.
point is when people in Afghanistan are dying because it's all of our fault that this went wrong, to them, I'm not saying
Oh.
that I'm making that assertion. I'm saying to anybody there, this is all of our fault. Every U.S. citizen is holding the exact same amount of blame. So if we sit here and we try to we watched a video the other day on my channel. Okay. It's about a mosque that had bombed. It was a Vice News interview. It's about a month before the
Oh,
pullout.
jeez, Vice News.
Okay. And a mosque had been bombed, and they were interviewing the people in the town. And they found a fragment from the side of the bomb. And on it was the serial number, the type of bomb, and that it was manufactured in March of 2020, which is a month after Trump negotiated his deal. And the people were going into their mosque that had been partially destroyed and picking up the pieces of the Quran, because the Quran is that sacred to them, that they must preserve every single piece that they can. Now, do you honestly think that anybody in that mosque gives one flying fuck if it was Biden or Bush or Obama or Trump? No, they would blame every single American equally for that. And we all own it. We can accept it or not accept it, but to them, we all own it.
If we're going to talk about ownership, and I wasn't going to go down this road, but if we're going to talk about ownership of the lives that were recently lost, I'm sorry, I refuse to accept it. I put that, if you're going to put it on a mass ownership, put that on Biden supporters and Biden voters, because they're the one that elected this buffoon into office. This buffoon is the one that fumbled the ball on this part, allowing the freaking Taliban to be the ones that say, okay, you can come through to our military. Come on, man. The Taliban's sitting there checking people, saying who can and cannot go to the American checkpoint where our military is. How hard is it for ISIS-K to come up and say, listen, we know your family. If you want them to live, you let our guy go past. Listen, I'm not saying Trump is innocent. I'm not trying to say he's perfect. I'm not even supporting the dude. And there were many of presidents that could have got us out of Afghanistan. What I'm saying is, from the time Biden took over the situation and he scrapped Trump's plan, went ahead with his own, which had everything to do with ignoring intelligence and doing things ass backwards, he is the one that brought on the situation that now has 13 coffins of our military members. The blood is on his hands, and therefore, by default, his voters, because his ass would not be in office had he not been elected by that 80 million people. Thank you.
Wait. Okay, first rule. Quick reminder, when I speak, no one speak. Just real quick. Second rule, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning. If you're trying to speak and you see that you cannot intervene, like, you can raise your hand and I will try to give you the mic. Don't do this as a automatism every time you want to speak. It's really as a last resort. That being said, I want to pray to XUSR.
God, there's so much that just went on. I just don't think we really understand the region in terms of politically, well, or culturally and religiously. And I think our presence being there with our military has more radicalized them. So I think that's led to more damage than actually doing good. The Taliban's been there and it's always going to be there unless the Afghans can actually like fix it themselves. Now, it might seem cold coming from me, but I don't think us continuing to be there or doing anything more is just gonna like fix anything. The most we can do is accept refugees, which we barely are doing compared to other countries. So we really need to do better. Like, I just don't think we can put this all on Biden or all on Trump or whatever. I think playing the blame game is just absolutely ridiculous, and it's not going to get us anywhere. And it's not finding a solution.
It's funny that I find somebody on the left now that says that the blame game is absolutely ridiculous when it wasn't just a year ago that I was sitting over here saying like, hey, it's all our fucking government, right? And all the lefties like, it's all Trump's fault. It's all Trump's fault. And I'm supposed to be merciful right now and not fucking hammer you home, right? Whenever you're on that side of the political spectrum in a place such as this. Like, now, if we were just chilling out somewhere else having a beer or something, like, that's your take, right? But you know what? We're on a fucking political panel. So guess what? Right. I think that a lot of what you're saying there is probably evident from like your own lack of knowledge about the region, because I think that, especially considering the people that are in the room and the amount of knowledge that they've already put out on the particular region itself, right, understand that this was a problem long before the United States decided to go hunt down Osama bin Laden back in 2001 for the bombings of the World Trade Centers. Right. This area has been a place of contention for all of human history. Right. Which is why I laid out that its location in Central Asia. Right. Is what ends up making it a point of contention. Right. So when we understand that, the only way in which, if we were actually there for nation building, which we were not, we were there to try to hunt down a fucking terrorist. Right. That ended up running across the border into Pakistan, which is what I thought when I was active duty at the time before we actually got the son of a bitch. Right. And since then, it's been like, 10 years since we got Osama, and everybody trying to figure out how do we get us back out of the region, right? So while I absolutely hate the fact, and I mean absolutely hate the fact, that I have a commander-in-chief right now that is an absolute fucking moron, right? They couldn't understand that you don't pull out the fucking security team, i.e. the U.S. military, before you pull out all the civilians, right? Then, I mean, like, I just don't understand how you don't understand that. I just literally don't understand how you don't understand that, right? So when we understand what the commander-in-chief's responsibility is, the only thing for us as a people to do is to hold him responsible whenever he fucks up the job, or she in the future, right? It seems like a lot of people are calling for the 25th now, which is one of those, if you're on the conservative side, you might think more along the conspiratorial lines of they've been trying to get Biden out of office since day one so they could install Kamala in through the 25th Amendment anyway. But if there was ever a reason, this is probably a good one, right? But Afghanistan, until you have international or other, the international community, right, as a whole, be able to recognize what the state of the culture right? And the peoples there in the region are, and then maybe start redrawing some national borders based along the things that are actually most pertinent to the people there, rather than the British just saying, oh yeah, here's the line, y'all fucking deal with it, right? Like if we were going to do that, then we might end up with like 3 or 4 different smaller countries, all based around the ideology that they themselves hold, which would probably end up being more ethno-state, but at least maybe that could be a solution to bring some type of resolution to the region that has people stop fighting over dumb shit. Because everybody here in the United States is like, what, race doesn't fucking matter, right? You should be able to do what you fucking want. But these people, they very clearly have a different ideology, right? And no matter how much we sit over here in the United States and say, well, you shouldn't fucking think that way, it's not going to stop them from fucking doing that. It's not going to stop them from preventing women from driving cars or walking outside of their homes without a male escort. Like any of these things, it's not going to stop, because this is ingrained into their religious ideology and their cultural ideology, and they're not going to let that shit go. So that's about the only solution from an international standpoint, is that one, we did need to get out of Afghanistan, because as I would see it, as the founders would, this is an entangling alliance that we did not need to be a part of. What I wish is that the commander-in-chief wasn't a fucking buffoon, and we didn't get people killed with us withdrawing our forces and leaving so much fucking equipment behind.
Well, no, I can totally agree with that. Like, it's like he is a buffoon. Like, I don't like Biden, but I don't like Trump. I don't like either of them. I think they're both incompetent. But we really just need to focus on like what we can do now instead of just like what we could have done then. Now, CTV, I really do like appreciate like that you actually will say what you mean, and I get what you're saying. But we really do need to focus on what we can do now. And I do have a question. What do you think we can do now, like as a like to like fix the situation, or at least put a band-aid on it? Like, what do you think?
I think that we need to be sending over probably, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 C-130s full of fucking Army Rangers, and to take back over the entire area, right? That's exactly what needs to happen. Army Rangers land at the fucking airport all over fucking Kabul, and we fucking establish security in the fucking place, right? Bagram Airport gets retaken, and then we get our people out, and then we exfil the area fucking smartly. That's what needs to happen. To do anything less than that, right, is to sit there and just be like, well, then we're just gonna leave our people there. You know, they didn't fucking get on the bandwagon quick enough. It's like, no, we go back in, we get our fucking people out, and we get the fuck out of there, right? And let these people that live in this area of the world figure out their own shit.
Real quick, I want to pray to Preacher, because he had his hand raised for a long time. So yeah, go ahead. Also, next time I will give you a thumbs up just to say I saw you. But yeah.
And I'll try to pay attention. I want to say to USR, I'm not going to disagree with you on the whole creating more extremists thing. What I'm going to say is I don't know so much that our presence there created more, but it certainly didn't help erase it, because having us there was very easy for the Taliban, ISIS, or Al-Qaeda, any one of them wanted to create the propaganda that's going to continue the extremism on. Now, to CTV, I'm going to say that the whole 25th Amendment thing, as a conservative, you'll never hear me support it. I do believe that what you're saying with the conspiracy thing, you'll never hear me support it, because as much as I don't like Joe Biden, even less qualified is Kamala Harris. So I do not want to see that switch in any way, shape, or form. I don't like Joe Biden, but it's almost like a woman who has her issues in your relationship. At least you know those issues. You can deal with them rather than the one that might be around the corner. And I will also say that for CTV to say sending in the Army Rangers is big, and because he really could have said Navy SEAL since he's a Navy man, but you know what? He went with the Army on this one. I'll let it go at that.
Well, the reason for that is because the Army Rangers are better suited for taking over a large area of land versus the Navy SEALs that are very, very skilled at taking over very small buildings, you know, ships, things of that nature. Much smaller areas. When you send in the SEALs, you send in the Rangers to do the big jobs.
So, like, I don't like harping on the whole blame thing, and I'm not trying to do the blame thing, but like,
are you blaming me for something?
I'm gonna blame everyone. Yeah, right here.
Right.
I'm blaming. I don't give a fuck. But
my ex-wife
like,
does that.
What are you trying to say?
You know my ex-wife.
A little bit, yeah.
Are you a mechanic in Florida?
Okay.
Well, he knows her a whole
No
lot.
comment. No comment. No comment.
Redacted.
So so if you're gonna say that Biden is a buffoon for not, pulling civilians out like before reducing troops, like why isn't Trump a buffoon in the same respect? Because he led the he led the troop drawdown to 2,500 or 3,500, and then but didn't evacuate any civilians. At least
I can answer that for you, at least from my standpoint, is that, right, Trump did the drawdown of the troops, but he let it at a sustainable number of troops there to still protect. So there were still enough troops there that would be able to say, you know what, all right, now we can start pulling out the civilians, and then once they're out, those final 2,500 come out, rather than saying, okay, well, let's pull those 2,500 out, and then we'll figure out the civilians. Trump did it in a way where he was drawing huge down to little, but strong enough still to defend, protect, and make sure we had a safe escape for civilians and any Afghanis who helped us out, as we should protect them.
Okay.
Well, I want to say real
I
quick.
still, this whole conversation is still kind of just a waste of time. It doesn't really address the core issue of Afghanistan as a whole. The brass, the people in charge of the military, didn't know why we were there. They didn't know what we were doing. So Biden or whoever's president is going to be the end of that chain of whatever information they're feeding up, saying, because if you go and look, like there's I don't know if Restrepo got into it, but I know there's another one called This Is What Winning Looks Like, where they were showing it was a unit on the ground in Afghanistan, and there was like some ambassador that came to see progress or whatever, and the higher ups are like, well, look at all the progress that we're making, look, here's like this good map and all this shit, and the guys who are actually going out doing patrols and shit, they're like, this is not how it's going, we're not winning. So there's this huge disconnect between what's actually going on, the people in charge, and then the politicians. Like nobody knows what the fuck is happening.
Well, that might be the whole story of Afghanistan for 20 years.
But yeah, but then why are we sitting here being like, "Dear Trump, dear Biden"? Like that we're just going around in circles, circle jerking each other. Like why?
Well,
In fairness, part of
We
that
should
is
go to the
politics.
core of the issue.
We don't
Well,
want
I guess maybe the alternative to everybody circle jerking each other is to nobody be getting any action at all, right?
Yeah.
It's true. First of all, I want to say that I completely agree with CTV that we need to put troops on the ground and get people out and then leave. 100%. I just think it should be forced recon probably, but that we'll disagree on that. Anyway, here's an issue about Afghanistan that we haven't brought up. Okay, when we initially went in, Pakistan was supporting the forces there, and a big part of before we went in, we made sure that Pakistan was not supplying troops and supplies, or they weren't supplying troops. I'm sorry, supplies and weapons to the Taliban. Okay, and because Pakistan is afraid, because if Afghanistan gets radicalized against Pakistan, then Pakistan's surrounded, and Pakistan and India have had this thing going on for roughly 1 billion years. So there has always been this meddling with the people of Afghanistan, whether it was the Soviets, whether it was Pakistan, whether it was us, whenever we were there, and they haven't been able to live and just be themselves, right? There's the French and U.S. idea of nationalism doesn't exist in most of Afghanistan. They don't think of themselves as Afghans. They think of themselves as members of their tribe or members of their religious sect that they know, that they live with, maybe members of their town. So for us to go there and try to impose it, even though we were there for 20 years, we spent $1 trillion, we lost thousands of troops. There are estimates that over 100,000 people in that, were Afghan died. I mean, it's hard to tell, unfortunately. Whatever it is that we do, once we get out the people that we need to get out, we need to stay the fuck out forever. It's not our place to draw lines on the ground and tell people that's where they live now. It's their place to do that for themselves. And we need to stop the idea that we can go around the world nation building. We failed in Korea. We failed in Vietnam. We failed in Cambodia. We failed in Afghanistan. We aren't good at it. We suck at it, and we need to fucking stop.
Hell, we're failing in the United States.
Well, that's a different debate. Next debate.
I just
Have you
interject
passed the infrastructure
very, very
bill?
This is super important. I need to just say this. Why do they only eat one egg in France? Because one egg is enough. Okay, we got him back.
Computer decided that it was a good moment to crash. So yeah, sorry about that. Continue. Thank you, CTV.
Preacher, go ahead.
No, I think I was pretty much done. Just saying, we do need to look forward to where we can go. Stop trying to think we can bring democracy to places that don't want democracy. And I think the Afghan people, the regular citizens, I'm sure what they really want, not just after these last 20 years, but forever, they want peace. They want to know that they can walk outside and not have something explode or if someone gets shot dead next to them. I'm sure that's what they want. But we got to let them find their own way to that and figure out how they can get it for themselves. That's all.
I think another thing that should be done, which is like being pursued in Yemen for peace, is like federalism, which is like creating like semi-independent states within the borders of Afghanistan to give people who have closer ties like culturally and whatever to like better push for like I guess like better communities and stuff that aren't really conflicting around those borders that CTV brought up earlier. But like, yeah, I think that's something that could be pursued in the area. I don't know. North Countryman doesn't like my take, I think.
No, I brought up Lebanon. That's why I was like, hey.
I was bringing up. Wait, is Lebanon in Yemen?
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, you made me like rethink my whole life. Yeah, I was saying Yemen. Lebanon's an example too, but Yemen is like more in the process, because I haven't checked in a while, but I don't
Just
know.
jump in there, Ethan.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I totally agree with you, Preacher, for the most part. But the thing that we're going to have to remember that there is going to likely be radical Islamic terrorism attacks outside of Afghan, other places in the world against us. You got to remember the Cole bombing. It wasn't just 9/11. It was the Cole. There were embassy bombings. And so we do need some sort of apparatus to still gather intelligence within Afghanistan, maybe within parts of Pakistan. And I think another big thing that is going to happen is you are going to see Muslim refugees come across that border from China, and China's going to take some sort of military action against Afghanistan. Maybe, I mean, it's hard to understand, but we need to recognize that these things are going to happen. We are going to face this for the next 20 years, and we need to have plans in place to mitigate it as much as possible.
Why do you think that they're going to run? I mean, why do you think that the Muslims are going to go to China? I just don't understand why.
No. From China. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I mean, from China.
Okay, from China to Afghanistan.
Yeah, and I do agree.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That makes complete sense, especially the way the Uyghurs are being treated in China. It makes complete sense. You're right, and I do agree. One of the reasons the Taliban, I'm not going to say easy, but was able to do what they've done in a short amount of time is because the Taliban never really disappeared. They stayed in a lot of these major areas in sleeper cells, and unfortunately, even here in the United States, there are sleeper cells, and I'm not saying this to be a fearmonger. I can tell you just north of me, I live in Pennsylvania, and the northern part of my county, my area is a lot of summer camps for the Jewish kids out of New York, New Jersey, Florida. A Muslim organization had bought one of these summer camps, and it's beautiful setup for them because you have a security gate, one way in, one way out. It's up in the Pocono Mountains in the woods. And now it's fact that they bought it, but what's not fact, but so far is just hearsay, and I haven't checked it out yet, is that people are reporting that they're hearing a lot of gunfire going on there, and people have tried to sneak in, and supposedly there's videos somewhere of them actually doing training in these camps. I don't know if that's true yet. So I can't say it definitely is, but
what is this place called?
It doesn't actually have a name. It was an old summer camp, a Jewish summer camp in the northern part of Wayne County, Pennsylvania, north of a town called Equinunk.
Well, and I think it's going to be important for us as Americans to make sure that if things like this do happen, we have to make sure that it's not that Islamophobic nightmare that we had in the mid to late 2000s, because it was awful here. And 100%. We need to make sure that it's focused on the right Muslims
I
It's
can tell
not
you,
all of them. It's just the extremists.
I
Real-
can tell you,
Real
as
quick,
a Christian,
real quick, sorry. I
sorry.
want to let Preacher respond, and after that, we're going to closing statement for this topic.
I could tell you as a non-denominational Christian minister, I have many friends who are Muslim, and they will tell you the same. We do not want to be roped in with that. So yeah, no, and it's just like, it's with anything. Just because one group, any society has their groups of extremists. Christians have their groups of extremists. I'm hoping that I'm not falling under the same cloud as David Koresh, because I'm a Christian minister, and it should be the same thing. It shouldn't be anything different. Just because it's Islamic doesn't mean like, oh, we got to treat it differently. No, we don't. We point the finger at those who did the deed in their extremism, not the group because I don't honestly think they represent Islam on a whole.
Do you have a compound?
Sorry, we're just because I don't want us to be out of time, we're going to go into.
I'd say you're not touching Koresh then if you don't have your own compound yet.
I'm working on it. If you'll see my tips notification, it says help me build my own world domination area.
Subscribe to Preacher so he can build his compound.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying.
Easy.
All right, we're going to go into closing statements, starting by Ethan.
Oh, okay. Listen, I think that we're all in agreement about what comes next or what should come next. I don't think anybody disagreed. If you did, I apologize. But we have to get these people out of there. We have to prevent as much as possible humanitarian nightmares that we can prevent. Unfortunately, Sharia law is devastating to women. It's devastating to LGBTQ people. And those people are going to suffer without us there. But we need to also remember that it's not our job to nation build. And we need to be using the tools available to us through the UN Security Council, maybe through NATO, and put them at the forefront instead of putting ourselves at the forefront, and make Afghanistan as, something new, hopefully, over time.
All right, I'm going to throw it to CTV.
All right. Well, I think that we had a good discussion, and I think that at the end of it, right, I'm definitely sitting here in the camp of I want to be able to protect Americans, right? LGBTQ plus, like everyday Christians, the non-radicalized Muslims that are here. All of the boxes, right? As a matter of fact, fuck all the boxes and just say American, right? So I want to be able to protect our people, and this is where, right, you have to be able to separate the mindset of the, what we want or what we would like people to have here underneath the value system that we have, right? About freedom and equality and, opportunity, all of these things against the people that are in this part of the world, right? And what we understand, right? What we've been sitting here talking about there, the ethno-states, the tribalism, these are the things that these people are actually loyal to. They don't, we've evolved past that as far as the nation is concerned, and they're still kind of held back in the past. So because of that, right, the vetting process to find out who the right Muslims are needs to be dramatically slowed down. And I don't like the idea, frankly, unless it's been people that's already on lists that they were helping us in Afghanistan. If they're not already on those lists, I'm not keen on bringing anybody else into our country, because I want to protect Americans first, right? Everybody else around the world, we agree that we don't need to be doing nation building. So then why do we need to be trying to bring people that don't want to build their own nation where they are into ours whenever they weren't helping us out when we were there? So these are some real things that's big picture stuff that people should think about, especially considering the depth of conversation that we just had about this region of the world.
All right, I'm going to throw it to No Justice.
Yeah, so summarize, basically, I think we all came to some sort of consensus here, although I do disagree that we should put the lives of our own country first. I've been personally offended that CTV doesn't care about protecting me first as a British person, my God. No. But we have to put the lives of Afghans at the forefront at the end of the day. Like, it's our shit we got to clean up at the end of the day. And I think one thing we have to do is organize some way of being able to accept refugees, and we have to accept as many as we can and find the infrastructure for them too. Because at the end of the day, if they are not happy living under a Taliban regime that essentially has come to power through our own incompetence, then we should be able to accept them in our own ranks.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Audizoid.
Afghanistan is fucked. Probably going to be fucked for a long time. We need to reevaluate the relationship between, or how we use our military, and not get into some world building, or not world building, nation building fiasco again in the future.
All right, I'm going to throw it to XUSR.
Yeah, this is a good conversation. I really appreciate CTV's conversation we had earlier. But for Afghanistan, I just really want the best. I'm not really sure how we're gonna fix things there. But the best we can do is accept refugees, like I believe Justice said. But for now, I can only hope for the best, and I just don't want more people dead. So yeah.
I'm going to throw it to Preacher.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll stop the finger pointing now, move forward, and how can we resolve this? And I do believe, as CTV and others have said, obviously get our citizens out, get out those who have helped us, and if they want to come here, obviously they've paid their debt. They put their lives and their family lives on the line. Bring them home or bring them over here. But I think for the bulk of the refugees, I would say let's try and get other countries involved in helping us so that we keep them near to their country, so that if by some miracle there becomes peace in Afghanistan, they can go back to the land that I'm sure they love. But yeah, I don't think us continuing to deal with Afghanistan in any way other than keeping some people there for intelligence is going to be productive for us. We're going to have to let them settle it for they're a totally different lifestyle than the Western world, and we're going to have to let them settle it for what fits best for their lifestyle. That's it.
All right, I'm going to throw it to daFRO.
Yeah, so yeah, we've all really come to an agreement on how shit is fucked and it'll stay fucked for a while. Artizoid put it perfectly. I would just say that I'm pretty sure refugees go through some of the strongest vetting of immigrants. I could be wrong about that. But I know that at least when they're in the country, misdemeanors or felonies, they are just sent straight back to where they came from. You know what I mean? They are deported. So I mean, I understand needing a vetting process, but I think that we did kind of, even though we said there has been conflict there all along, we have definitely contributed to that conflict, and so I think it is our responsibility to take some Afghan refugees and also oversee the facilitation of other countries taking them, which we've seen. I think more than 70,000 people have been evacuated and gone to different countries. So yeah, all around fucked though, and it'll take decades to repair probably.
All right, I'm going to throw it to n0rthcountryman.
So the solutions that we can draw from the Afghanistan war and withdrawal and debacle is that the military cannot and should be used for nation building. It's not an effective way of doing it. The U.S. does have tools in terms of its soft power. You can look at, I'm going to throw a little credit to the Alpha Wolf a little bit, how the federal government responds to its states in helping with infrastructure and helping with aid. That can be, if you go along with the idea of the U.S. helping abroad, that can be a model. But invasions and occupations are not going to work. Responses to terrorism, I would recommend looking at, Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir's response. That helps us fight terrorists without getting bogged down. These are things that we can learn from and how to respond to acts of terrorism going forward, and how the U.S. can manage itself in the world going forward. Because you look at the loss of life in Afghanistan, and that's reason enough to step back and think we need to rethink what we're doing.
All right, real quick, did I forget anyone on this? Feel like I did everyone. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So that concludes this topic. Yeah. Again, thank you for being here, everyone, and thank you for engaging calmly. You know, I appreciate this. Having shouting match and everything is good, but sometimes it's good to have a nice, cool panel where people can talk and everything. All right, real quick. First of all, go follow everyone that is participating on this panel right now. They all deserve it. They're all here. They all have wonderful take. So yeah, go give them a follow. Twitter, Twitch. I'm sure there's people in my chat who are going to post the link. Second thing, putting a panel together and like hosting it is a lot of work. So please go support daFRO. Twitch.tv/daFRO and also the shellshockcbd.com. If you enter code daFRO, you get 10% off. And yeah, don't forget to follow me as well. Sub if you can, but I'm cool. Anyway, let's jump into the next topic right now, which is a little bit of a palette cleanser. Which daFRO is going to tell because he erased the message in private and replaced it by something else. Okay, that I cannot share. daFRO save me.
No, you either remember the one you wanted or do that one.
All right, fine. All right, the palette cleanser is if you could be a superhero or a supervillain for 1 week, which one would you be? And yeah, which one would you be? Like, what would be your superpowers and everything, and what would you do? All right. No closing statement, no opening. We're doing this on the spot. Go, you can engage.
Well, I mean, it's got to be invisibility, right?
Pervert.
I was about to say that.
I mean,
That's the only reason to be invisible.
but
Let's
no
get
one's
real.
no one's gonna say invisibility. But if you really had the choice, it's gonna be invisibility, right?
No, it's going to be time manipulation. Clearly, because you get to combine all of the rest of the superpowers, but with time manipulation, it usurps so many of them.
Oh, we just went right into. There's no opening statements for this.
No, no opening statement.
No opening, no closing. It's a
Oh,
palette
well then let
cleanser.
me smash the whole fucking room. Let me smash the whole room, right? I want to. If I'm only getting it for a week, I want to be Thanos.
That's not a
What are you gonna
superpower.
do?
That's not a
What are you gonna
superpower.
do
He's just-
with Thanos' power?
I
Might as
think
well
I'm
be a superpower.
I think I'm going to balance out the entire
Oh my-
population
of
of the
course you
universe.
That's not Thanos'
Of course you
power.
would.
Yeah. What are you gonna kill Gamora? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, she's dead. Bye.
I just
Well,
wanna
that
have
one,
a-
no, that wouldn't matter
That's your
because she
own
doesn't
daughter.
hold, she doesn't hold a close place in your heart. So
See,
you
this
couldn't
is-
kill Gamora to get
This
the
is where I
Soul
get the
Stone.
where I get the
Yeah,
Infinity Gauntlet, right?
I just want to have a super big brain. I want to be really smart, I just want those wrinkles to be like more into my brain, I don't want to be a smooth brain. I want to be like over 200 IQ. I want to be like Megamind or some bullshit, but
Take it
I
from
If it was
me, it's
only
not
for
all
a
it's
week, I
turned
would.
out to be.
I'd want the has everyone seen the movie Jumper
Oh yeah.
with Anakin
Yep.
Skywalker? I would want that for a week.
Nice.
And then I would.
That's a good one.
I can't believe
wanna
they hired
be-
Hayden Christensen for another film.
I want to be Thanos after he snapped, where I'm just the farmer, just chilling, just tending to my crops. Doing
Just getting your head cut off. Cool.
Yeah, no, I'm the week before Thor comes.
Oh, the week before. Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, 2
Yeah.
weeks before. That way you've got a full week.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
But then I
yeah.
wouldn't be Thanos anymore. So I
Right.
would,
So you'd be fine.
so I'd be
So you
cool,
just be a
yeah.
farmer for a week, farming your
Yeah,
giant purple eggplant things.
exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
yes.
Here's where I lose popularity. I really don't know anything about superheroes. I've watched a couple movies, but that's about it.
Neither do I.
So what about
Super
There is
speed.
actually
What about superpowers?
Wildest imagination.
Well,
What power would you
superpowers. I mean, I'm already awesome, so I don't know what more I can do.
That's not a superpower.
there is a graphic novel.
When
There's a
you're as
graphic
fat and
novel
ugly
called
like me, it's a
Preacher.
superpower.
Damn.
Damn.
Yeah, fair. That's
Self-roast.
fair.
There is actually a graphic novel called Preacher, where
That was me.
the title character is a preacher. He is the voice of God. He can make people do literally anything.
Oh, that's pretty.
Okay,
They,
I like that
they
one.
adapted it, and
I'll
it
do
is
that.
the most
That's also
vulgar, sacrilegious thing I have ever seen, and it's wonderful.
Oh man, I definitely don't want to be able to read thoughts because I'd probably be getting in a fight a lot.
Oh, I do. That'd be fun.
Oh, if I could read thoughts, oh, y'all would definitely be in trouble. I mean, I
I can
already do such
already
a
read
good job of
tactics.
being.
It's wrong.
The debate
Yeah.
tactics, they'd be insane, dude.
I want to be
Yeah.
able to read thoughts just because I can't read people's personal cues. It's just, you know,
You have the power to read
the
minds, so
autism
you
giveth,
debate
the
people on
autism taketh
Twitch.
away. So, you
Such a
know,
waste.
That's so sad.
Well, listen, that outfit is a good start. So
That
you're
is
doing
good.
well. No, it's fantastic. I love it.
I'm just hoping that this is not something that people have seen in their nightmares at some point.
Oh,
I will
have.
now.
Just
I
chasing
mean-
them down a hallway.
Dude,
Oh, I have. But
You'll float
instead,
too. You'll
instead
float
it's my
too.
it's
You'll
my
float
dad.
too.
Well, I'll tell you this, and CTV can second it. I do have a costume, not so much of a superhero. I was gonna wear it today, but it's actually getting revealed on Friday because I do concession work, and I'll be at the Italian Festival in Scranton, Pennsylvania, as Mario, and I will be doing meatballs on a stick, and I have
Wait,
the entire
are
costume.
you Italian?
And so
I am.
Okay. I
I'm
was
from
worried about cultural
Pennsylvania, too.
appropriation for a second.
Who said I'm from
And yeah, that's the
Pennsylvania?
entire United States there, daFRO, right?
Yeah.
Anyone,
Like
are you anywhere
everything
near?
about the United States is cultural appropriation.
Yeah,
Are you-
sure. I was just joking.
Scranton's like maybe an hour from me, I think.
Oh,
something
okay.
like that.
You should come up and enjoy the Scranton Italian Festival and go to that booth where there's a guy going to be dressed as Mario saying, "It's me, Mario. I make a meatball on a stick."
I might. All right.
And there's also a bar
Go
right
just
outside
as
the back
Bowser.
of my tent. I couldn't get other people to play in with me. I was going to get Luigi, but no, he wants to go out and fix plumbing and crap. Bowser, well, he just sucks. And Princess Peach, well, that would get me in trouble with my fiance. So I'm probably good I didn't find someone to fill that role.
Interesting.
Apparently, Mario is 24.
Holy
He looks like a 45-year-old
Yeah.
diabetic.
I know.
Wait,
No, I mean, he's
wait,
Italian.
which
He's been drinking
Mario
beer
are we
for at least
talking
10
about?
Years.
Mario.
Listen, if you guys actually saw me in my pool stream, you would understand I'm probably the best depiction of Mario in this day and age.
Mm,
Fat, out of shape, and old.
maybe Wario. I don't know.
Are you a
Mario.
plumber though?
I can do plumbing. I used to have my own business of that, but now I'm just a painter. which
How
is why
are you at jumping up in the air and hitting blocks?
I am very fat, so no.
What about after you eat a mushroom?
When I eat a mushroom, there's
Shrooms.
a lot of stuff I can actually do on that. And I may actually
way-
see those blocks.
It was an obvious
Presumably, if he's
question
going
asked
to
here.
be, if he's going to be Mario for a week, then surely he would also gain the power of eating mushrooms and then being able to do whatever it was Mario does.
I can already
Yeah.
do it.
I don't know if I
Oh,
should be
Justice,
throwing
can you say
turtles.
Mario
though.
again, please.
Mario.
She's got a Jersey accent. Leave her alone.
Well, I mean, wouldn't it be
Maybe.
kind of cool to be one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Now, when I was a child, I did like them. I would be Michelangelo.
Mm,
Oh no, I'm Leonardo all day long.
it's
well, of course, you have-
Raphael.
All right.
Yeah, I was a Donatello guy myself.
There you go.
The four.
Now, where's
turtles.
Master Splinter?
Hey, Stardust in the chat.
I am Master Splinter.
What's up, Stardust?
I actually started up my stream. I meant to do it at the beginning, but you know.
Nice.
Man,
Great.
y'all just got no creativity, no imagination.
you-
I should have
Hey,
known that
oh,
coming
one
into a
thing I
panel
wanted to
full of
say-
fucking lefties, right?
True.
Should've known it.
I wanted to be a
said I-
shapeshifter. That's what I was gonna say earlier.
Yeah, I wanted to be
Shapeshifter.
super.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
you just
to
called,
be-
wasn't it you
pervert.
to call somebody else a pervert a minute ago for
What is wrong with
visibility?
you? Wait. What?
You could literally,
Alright,
you could literally turn
you have a
into like
dirty
Kim
mind,
Kardashian.
CTV.
dude.
No,
What the
you
fuck?
clearly look. I'm trying to give you some credit. Clearly, you've studied Greek mythology about how Zeus used to shapeshift, right, and have sex with other guys'
I'm
wives,
thinking
right?
about
So-
Beast Boy, bro. I'm thinking about.
oh,
Beast
I
Boy.
was trying to give you some
Great
credit.
days.
So, you know,
I'm not.
Wait until you
cultured
learn
like
about
that.
Loki.
Come on.
Uncultured.
Yeah, Loki.
Someone here was also talking about mind reading as their power. I mean, if anything of watching What Women Want has taught me is that reading people's minds is the best way of being able to make love to them expertly, because that's what Mel Gibson did.
True.
Good point. Good point. But someone who knows what they're doing doesn't need to be able to read their mind.
No, you read their body.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Talk to them.
If the breathing and the vocals aren't changing, you're not doing it right.
Especially if they have cool tattoos. I love reading those.
Yes, yes. Like following a roadmap.
There you go. Your body is a wonderland.
I mean, we could start talking about erecting decks if we want.
Don't say erecting though.
No, seriously. Like, if you haven't ever erected a proper deck, right? Look, you're going to have to get your building inspectors involved. You're going to have to make sure you got your contracts written. There's a lot of work that goes into erecting a proper deck.
Treat the wood.
All right.
Dex was your superpower, though. Then
Listen.
you don't need all of that pre-preparation.
That's true. Right?
This was supposed to be a palette cleanser, and my palette feels more dirty than ever. So I think we're going to move on to the next topic.
Wow, geek. No
We're just talking
imagination.
about external features on houses.
Call this leftist censorship. All right, so yeah, let's move on into the next topic, which is Hasan Abi's mansion. So if you don't know, the left-leaning or leftist streamer Hasan Abi bought a 3.4 million mansion, like basically a 3 point something million houses in West Hollywood,
right?
basically.
It was 2.7 million, right? 2.74?
I don't know. I read every numbers. I read 2.7. I think I read
Just
like
say it even
recently
three.
3.4.
What's a million here or there?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He bought a multi-million like mansion.
There's
Like,
like 3 subs. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. 3 subs.
Three ad breaks, you know.
So yeah, you can engage on that, on like the hypocrisy of the left. You can take it wherever you want. You can
You should
socialist.
probably do opening statements for this one, don't you?
Yeah. I'm just explaining the topic for now, but we're going to go back into opening everything as normal. But yeah, like basically you can take it wherever you want. Like the hypocrisy of the left. Socialism is when no house. Like whatever you want. All right. And we're going to start by No Justice MTG.
So yeah, I've been having so many conversations about this subject. So first of all, we have to understand that, firstly, like Marxism and socialism is a critique of production, not of consumption, right? And so rather than saying, oh, he's consumed in an unethical manner, which I think is debatable anyway, but even so, a way in which one has acquired their wealth is the issue at hand, rather than the way somebody spends it. We can talk. I mean, I think there's reasonable conversations to be had about what he could be doing with his funds to further his own goals. But I don't think him spending the money that he has accrued on a purchase to house him and also his family as well, right, is something that is worthy of commenting on its hypocrisy. We can talk about the way that he's made his money is purely through donations, right? So I don't know whose surplus value he's extracting by doing so, by taking money that people offer him, rather than having. I mean, we can talk about how he treats his moderators and editors, right? Because these are people who he theoretically could employ at this point. That is a mode of production that we can criticize him for. But him himself as an Amazon employee, which is what he is as a Twitch contractor, then spending your money in the way that he wants, that's not hypocritical when we talk about Marxism and socialism as far as I'm concerned. And with regards to the actual house purchase himself, what would be worse? Him buying a $2.74 million house that is way out of the price range of the working class, right? Or housing his family in 2 separate affordable houses that people much poorer than him could have bought if he'd not. Right? What's better for working people with these 2 options in mind? So I really don't see what the big issue is. He's just an entertainer. He makes money in a very, very unexploitative way. And I mean, what I really think is, why are people who claim to support socialism just giving money to entertainers rather than contributing to any kind of local fund, right? I think that's more where the conversation's really been put. These people have funded his lifestyle when they could have been funding something else.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Preacher.
All right, so I wasn't muted, so that was a unnecessary movement. So I'm not really up on this completely because honestly, when it comes to these personalities or influencers, I could really care less, to be honest with you. But I have watched a couple panels because there's been a couple panels on it. And from what I've gathered, you know what? As an American who believes in the Constitution and capitalism, I say good for him, man. You know, you just did everything that the dream is about. But I can see where people might say, you know what? If you're pushing socialist values, but capitalizing off of capitalism, I don't know if I'd say, well, yeah, I guess that'd be hypocritical because I say it about someone in my own town my old hometown, who pushes hardcore for socialist values, but has a very successful coffee beanery place, and through that success, he's now bought like a $1.2 million home. It was just featured on a TV show. People get aggravated when you keep hearing, you know what? Especially when we look at how socialism has gone. Usually, the wealthy in a socialist society are the politicians. Everybody else is, like Bernie said, it's good to see people on bread lines. That's a good thing. So I can see where people find him hypocritical, but me as an American saying, you know what, I know what the American dream is. I love capitalism. Good for you, dude. Maybe you should give it a little bit of acknowledgement towards that, and maybe not rail so hard against it. If he does, I don't even know if he does. I don't watch it, dude. I don't even know who the hell he was until this subject came up.
All right. I'm going to throw it to CTV.
All right, so I'm talking about this again. It's a bullshit fucking topic. Danabo is fucking lazy. He should have came up with a better fucking topic, right? Danabo, what the fuck, man? Right? Dude spends $3 million on a house, right? And I'm going to round up. I should probably round it up to 5 if I'm being fucking honest, because like there's interest, right? Unless he paid for it cash. Did he pay for it cash? I don't think so. I think there was a mortgage involved. If there's a mortgage involved, there's going to be fucking taxes that have to get paid. There's going to have to be fucking interest. Like, it's going to end up costing a lot more fucking money. All the while, this motherfucker's selling socialism, right, as the way to fucking, perpetuate American society, while at the same time, like, saying, hey, I'm going to have a $3 million mansion and a pool for me to be able to fuck porn stars, and everybody else could just fucking suck a dick, right? So, like, that's the message. Right, that right there is the left's fucking message. There's going to be, just like I said on Friday, right, there's going to be a lot of justifications from those on the left, right, to protect Hasan, because it's like, well, I'm sitting here over on the socialism side of things, and I feel in these things because I see Hasan was able to get a fucking mansion, and that's what I want to be able to do. So if I just carry the grift long enough that I get to that point, then it's possible, right, rather than pointing out the blatant hypocrisy in the man's actions versus what he's been fucking speaking and holding his feet to the fucking fire.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Audiozoid.
All right. He had a video from 2019 called "Yes, Billionaire is a Dirty Word," where he basically goes on a rant about how unethical it is to be a billionaire, and he refers to it as that level of wealth hoarding, even though so when that alien starts with a B but not his alien that starts with an M, then it's okay an amount of hoarding. He specifically calls out Bezos because that's usually the person that's called out whenever these conversations are had. But based on what I can find, I'm not using this as pure fact, so these numbers are subject to change. But Bezos' annual income, what he takes home, is about 1.6 million. Hasan's is 1.8 to 2. That could be way different. That's only what I could find with a quick Google search. So it would be ultra ironic and hilarious if Hasan actually had more take home annually than Bezos, not counting I don't know, like dividends or some shit, but just pure income wise. He would go on to say, asking if billionaires deserve their billions, which is, we're not even talking about income. When we're talking about billionaires, that's always their net worth, not their the amount of cash they have available on hand. And so if he's gonna be does Bezos deserve to be a billionaire? why would Hasan deserve to be a millionaire? Let's see. It's basically like it can depend on where the discussion goes, basically. But he basically talks about how like the evils of capitalism and the revolution that may happen if something doesn't change. But it's like he would say something like the solution is to solve inequality, famine, and poverty. But by like all metrics, the rate of poverty has been going down. The amount of people that have been dying due to famine globally has been going down. And that's because of the liberalization of countries around the world adopting like free markets or going more towards free markets as opposed to kind of more restrictive authoritarian like regimes that they had in the past. So is Hasan a hypocrite? Yes, because if you're going to preach about how unethical it is to be a billionaire, and be like, well, I'm a socialist, but I'm gonna live the most capitalist, like mansions, designer clothes, fucking porn stars, all that shit, then you're a hypocrite.
All right, I'm going to throw it to daFRO.
All right. So, I really, so what I would say is that, like, I don't know if it's hypocritical for him to buy this house in West Hollywood or whatever, but I think that, like, what's really important is that, like, if you are going to espouse these, you know, those values, and as already Zoid said, like, live the most extravagant life possible, I think the least you could do is, like, put more money towards your cause. Like, to be honest, like, Hasan has been stacking bread for like the past few years, just grinding on Twitch, and like good for him or whatever. But like he could use that money to do so much shit, you know, like in terms of like organizing for political movements or unions, or opening up his own co-op. I've heard someone say, like probably as a meme, but like the fact that he's like, I don't really see him do these things, like that's kind of like what is a little hypocritical. The fact that he's willing to talk about this shit so much and then like, you know, rail on anyone who has like a ton of money, who he is definitely rich as well. Like, you know, I just think that like he should do more to further his own cause if he's gonna be living like that.
All right, I'm going to throw it to XQSR.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of a hypocrite. Like daFRO said, he could easily be like doing way more if he wants to put his money where his mouth is. But at the end of the day, it is his money. I'm not saying like it should be taken away or anything like that crap. It's just there's more he could do to help like organize, et cetera, et cetera. I'm more just gonna repeat what daFRO said. But yeah, I think Hasan could do way more.
All right, n0rthcountryman.
So I can approach this from a few different angles. As a grown-ass adult, what another person does, not really my issue. As a Christian, I have to think of Book of Matthew, chapter 7. Don't judge others, lest you be judged yourselves. Don't criticize a speck in someone's eyes while ignoring the log in your own. As a freedom-loving capitalist, check out the shirt. What someone does with their money, again, I have no issue. However, as a dumbass with a camera and a microphone on Twitch, this is just a clear illustration that the left is completely incapable of living their values, and it's a failure of this utopian, permanently online leftism that is just perpetuating and actually seeping into the electorate, demanding just impossible standards of candidates and impossible standards of government that is inevitably going to lead to failure. And this is not a new thing. This kind of utopian leftism has always been impossible to implement and impossible to carry out, and it is doomed to fail. This is why casual reform, recognizing what society allows and doesn't allow and what it accepts and working with that is the right way to go. And that's the kind of brand of conservatism that I push for. How's that for memeing?
All right. Quick question: did I forget anyone?
I haven't gone yet.
All right, Ethan.
So I think that a lot of this stems from this, and I don't. Well, no, I know why, but stems from this this thing in the past 40, 50 years where the right likes to call socialism communism and conflate the two. Okay. Now, in both communism and socialism, you have a seizing of the means of production, right? More means of production going to people. That's in both of them. But it's only communism that eliminates property rights. Socialism doesn't eliminate property rights. If capitalism was OBS, socialism would be a plug-in. We did it with the New Deal. That is the most prominent socialist thing that happened in the United States in the 20th century, and it fixed rampant capitalism. Rampant capitalism is the problem that we have today. Rampant capitalism is what causes these multi-billionaires to become more billionaires. There's nothing inherently wrong with what Hasan did. He's working within the system provided to him, and he is operating on the capitalist system that we have. Capitalism provides access to resources. Any one of us could buy Dogecoin tomorrow, and Dogecoin could go to $1 million, and we could become billionaires ourselves, or 1,000 other ways. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when you get rampant capitalism that's evaporating our middle class, you get rampant capitalism that's causing this poverty, abject poverty at the bottom, that's causing low wages to stagnate. That's the problem. That's what we need to eliminate. Do I wish that Hasan had instead spent $3 million on an abandoned Walmart and created a bunch of affordable housing or something? Absolutely. But he's not a hypocrite for entertaining people, making money for entertaining people, and using that money to buy himself a house. It's not hypocritical. It's just capitalism.
All right, and with that being said, the floor is yours. You can engage.
Ethan, is the government doing stuff socialism?
Is the government doing stuff socialism? Is that what you
Yeah.
asked?
Yeah.
No.
Then how is the New Deal socialist?
How is the New Deal socialist? Well, the New
Yeah.
Deal did a lot of things. So it told banks that they had to loan to people. Banks weren't loaning to people. People couldn't buy houses in the Depression. It was a big reason why the Depression happened is all the banks crashed. And they said, you're going to loan to people. And the bank said, well, we're not going to loan to people. And the bank said, no, the government said, we're going to back you up. You can't go insolvent anymore. You're going to be part of the FDIC. You are going to have Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all that stuff. It came later. It wasn't a part of the original New Deal. But all of that stuff raised the floor. It created a social net so that people wouldn't fall through the cracks and lose everything. That's what socialism provides. It provides you access to services. Socialism is why we have an education system. It's why we have policing. It's why we have all of these things provided to us by the government. Our taxes pay for roads. That's why we have a commerce system in between states. All of this stuff is socialist. It's not communist. It's
So then why'd you say no when I asked if the government doing stuff is socialism?
Okay, not necessarily.
like you're
the
saying it
government
is.
doing
Wait, hang on. Can I
Yeah,
ask a
that's
question?
Plus everything you're
simply
saying
not
is-
socialism.
What is
That's
the
just
That's all
that's
stuff
just
that
mixed economy capitalism. That's any of the social democrats here would be fine with what you were just
Exact-
saying there.
You could say that
Wait.
all that stuff is able to be done because of capitalism. Otherwise, you won't have the funds available to be taxed and used by the
Right,
government.
but socialism is a socio-economic theory. It's just it's a socio-economic state of capitalism.
No, socialism is the worker control of the means of production and the abolishment of the commodity form, which
Yes,
is not
but Marx
capitalism
was
with
talking about
taxes.
evolving capitalism. That's his entire thing was we need to evolve capitalism. We need to not have any more of these gilded ages.
So wait,
That was
what
his
do you-
entire
No,
point.
His
feel-
point is
I
a
feel like
changing
we
of the
all-
economy in which the surplus value of people's labor being extracted by private property owning capitalists is a thing that does not happen anymore. Whether that's through a reformist attitude, through like worker co-ops, Marcora law type stuff, okay, sure, that's what I would prefer. Right? But at the end of the day, the government taking taxes and providing public services is just social democracy.
Not even
Yeah,
just that. It's just social contract theory 101.
Yeah, and do
But
you
as
even
far as
recognize
economics, it's
the
still
difference?
capitalism.
Do you even recognize? I'm sorry, Ethan. We're like stacking against you, but I just want to ask you this really pointed question.
Sure.
Do you recognize a difference between socialism and social democracy?
Of course.
Okay, what is the difference there?
Okay, so socialism requires a couple of things. So socialism is going to require some sort of seizing the means of production, right? So unions would be socialist. any type of government sponsored work that provides a service.
Yep.
that
Stop.
doesn't-
Stop. How is unions seizing the means of production? Explain that one first. We'll go point by point.
Okay, so how are
I'd argue
unions?
that they are a part of the thing. They're not seizing it.
Okay, but they can lead to it. That is a socialist idea. Unions are a socialist idea. I think you're conflating practice with theory.
I would absolutely agree that unions are I mean, most of the trade unions were formed up of socialists, right? Arthur Scargill, etc., etc. But we have plenty of countries that are fundamentally capitalist that have extremely strong unions. You look at all the Nordic countries in the Nordic model, which is, I'm sure, what the SocDems here are the kind of model that they would espouse. And under that model, Hasan would not be any kind of hypocrite because he would make money through the capitalist mode of production, and then he would be taxed, and that tax would provide for government services to be able to provide social mobility. Which is, if you're a social democrat, that's fine. But the thing is that what people are saying is that Hasan making this money as a socialist is hypocritical because he's making money off the capitalist mode of production. But I'm saying he's just an employee of Twitch TV making money through donations. Like the people extracting the surplus value in this case are Twitch.tv and Amazon, who are the people who pay who pay wage labor to the people who program for their platform. Hasan is just an employee on an independent contractor taking donations and then spending that how he wants. And his consumption, that is not something that is generally criticized through a Marxist angle. It is the mode of production that is criticized.
Right. Exactly.
But why do we care? Like, why do we care about?
Purchased a giant submarine?
I'm
Would
sorry,
that be a waste of money?
I
Would that be a waste of money if? Oh, am I muted?
I'm sorry. Multiple people were talking, so I couldn't hear anything. Something about a submarine? Someone said something about a submarine?
Yeah, would that be a waste of money? Because aren't submarines completely useless in every way possible? There he goes. Now he's awake.
Submarines are very useful.
There we go.
Oh.
There we go.
I would
Welcome up.
absolutely be. I would 100% be with you in saying there are definitely better things Hasan could spend his money on than a submarine. Would that make him a hypocrite as a socialist? No, it wouldn't.
I
It would
think
just
if
make
I'm
him
getting
not appealing to the supererogatory.
if I'm getting it right and paying attention to certain streams before this, and even in this, it was mentioned is that Hasan is one of the Eat the Rich guys, and now that he's making money, Eat the Rich went from the rich to rich means billionaires. Like I don't know, to the guy like me that's maybe a thousandaire. Even a millionaire would be rich. So I mean, if you're gonna espouse stuff about Eat the Rich, probably try not to be one of those people that you plan on eating yourself.
Well, that's one of these things that the lefties or socialists always do is like they always punch up to the billionaire class, like they're the ones that are causing all these problems and shit. But it's like you're in the top 1%, like you have no perspective looking down. The rest of the world is looking up at you with those same lenses. If that's the view that you want to use.
Any Marxist or socialist would call themselves any proper Marxist or socialist at any rate would call themselves living in the global north, the imperial core. They would call themselves the labor aristocracy compared to the global south, right? I don't think that's a point of contention with socialists.
Right, but if we take political ideology out of it, is what I'm saying. Whether I don't care if you're left, right, Dem, socialist, I don't care about all that. I'm saying it's like and I hope none of the sock Dems punch me in the throat for this one, but when Bernie Sanders used to talk, he used to be the millionaires and billionaires, we gotta stop them. Once he became a millionaire, you'll notice he dropped the millionaire and now only hashes out on billionaires. And it's pretty much the same thing here. Taking away socialism, social dem, whatever, taking that all away and just say a person on a camera espousing Eat the Rich and then capitalizing all of that, becoming one of the rich people. And I don't care. Like I said, I am all for capitalism. I'm all for, man, go out and make your money, be happy. And if you want a mansion, go buy a mansion. So I don't care. Pat the dude on the back in my book, but I'm saying why people would see him as a hypocrite if he's out there saying like rich people bad. I'm rich people.
Okay, but here's the thing. Anybody my age, I'm 40 years old. Anybody my age is going to absolutely require about $2.5 million in order to retire at 65. Okay? That's about how much money I'm going to have to need saved in order to retire. So
I'm not gonna do it till I'm 150 then.
So, well, I'm just saying, no one's no one reasonable, I guess I should say, should be demonizing millionaires because we all need to be that in order to retire successfully. So
Well, I'm saying.
Hang on, the wealth that's like acquired to retire to be like a millionaire is very different than the way that Hasan has gained his money. Right?
I understand that. I understand that. Hold on, let me finish.
Because also it grows over time. Like you're not going to get the million by the time you're 30, like Hasan.
Yes, it can in some ways. But my
He's
point
only
is
30 years old.
Either 30 or like 29.
Yeah, something like that. The
I really
problem
don't like him now.
with billionaires is that we don't need them for our economy. They're just a drain on.
Where do you get that from? Like where?
My God.
So okay, would you agree that wealth is a constantly growing pool? Yes or no?
Yes.
It can be. You're speaking
then
in giant. What is wealth? Is $5 wealth? Like
Money,
that's
like I mean,
that's
like
not a statement.
just
You're just
wealth,
making some general
money,
statement.
just money in general, like wealth.
How is it
possible to be
invested? How
earned.
is it kept? How is it held? I can't answer your question. Your question is non-specific.
So, is there a finite amount of wealth that all population on Earth gets to pull from?
You could just ask this: is economics a zero-sum game or not?
Well, that's the core, but that's like what most people like. They can't get past that.
Can't get past what? I don't.
Is it zero sum? Is economics zero sum or not?
Is economics zero sum?
Like if one person gets a ton of money, does that prevent a lot of other people from getting money?
Well, it can. That's what I'm saying. The issue is that your question is too broad.
No, it's not.
At what level is $10?
You would have to provide evidence to say that look, this isn't or this is being zero sum when the vast majority of cases, like so if somebody was stealing or if somebody was rent seeking or something like that, then yeah, you could point it to it being like zero sum. But just saying, oh, Bezos' worth is billions of dollars, therefore he shouldn't exist. Therefore, billionaires shouldn't exist. Like
the socialist point is that he doesn't need to exist. Amazon could be cooperatively owned and run. The means of production could be shared between the people who run the company, who function to keep that company going from day to day. You do not need the private ownership of those means of production for Amazon to be able to run in the efficient manner that it does, and to provide the service it does to the country and to the world and to the communities, right? And you can have all of those billions of dollars that Jeff Bezos can go have in his assets and his share, and the shareholders of Amazon could be shared amongst the people who do the actual work rather than the actual labor that they produce having surplus value extracted from it, right?
But we haven't seen any situation that has rivaled what private markets have been able to do. You have to acknowledge that.
For a very few amount of people.
No, right, for everybody. You have to say that Amazon benefits most people, if not all.
Can we look at the let's look at the Jeff Bezos thing, right? Okay, maybe now Amazon doesn't need Jeff Bezos, but without Jeff Bezos, there would have been no Amazon. And if we want to look at you don't need billionaires, let's look at Amazon, because people can now sell their products through Amazon. Therefore, the billionaire that started this program is now benefiting other people underneath that they can now make money off of that system.
No,
and I'll tell you, hold on.
Well,
I didn't say, hold on. Okay. Now I'm going to say, when you say we don't need billionaires, I'm a business owner. I have my own painting company, right? And I do good for my household. I do good, but there's no way I'm employing a bunch of people. If you want people that are willing to take the risk, it's going to take much more than what I make as a painter to take the risk to make as many jobs and do as much as Amazon has done across the boards. I'm not saying we need billionaires, but maybe we shouldn't crap on billionaires just because they did something good and they were wise with their money.
No, we should crap on billionaires.
Here's the thing, though. Like, what if those billionaires are performing like monopolistic behaviors, like Jeff Bezos, who, like as you said, people can sell on his site. Although there have been multiple instances of like the Amazon Basics brand creating like an alternative to some smaller brand and then selling that for much cheaper, and like axing the previous like creator of whatever object it was or whatever product it was, like from the site.
Did you just seriously reference antitrust laws from
Hello,
Roosevelt? Oh, it's that guy.
I hear
What's up, man?
somebody.
I'm here, and I'm just here to say that I want to thank you all for coming on the recruitment table, and I'm gonna be watching the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley fight, and this is a Jake Paul panel. It is officially everybody on here now endorses Jake Paul for victory. I want to thank you all for endorsing the God King Jake Paul for victory. Y'all have a wonderful.
I like Jake Woodley.
See you guys later.
Bye, Dylan.
You have a good one.
All right. Well, since y'all woke me up because I was having a splendid nap, right? Since you woke me up, I got a very practical question for y'all, right? Because I look up the definition of socialism here. Says any of various economic and political theories advocating collective or governmental ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods, right? So anybody sitting there talking about how like, oh, well, the workers just own the means of production. Well, somebody's got to own it, right? Because then the next definition of this thing is a system or of society or group living in which there is no private property, right? Which definitely seems to go into the ideology of
That's definitely not socialism then.
Well, that's it. So then the reality
distinction between. Sorry.
So the reality here, like, I want to ask y'all a very practical question because, like, for me, I see like the collection of taxes that get redistributed into, like, say, SNAP program, welfare benefits, etc., as a part of socialism, right? It's an attempt to try to take care of those in our society that might be less fortunate. Does everybody kind of agree with that?
No, it's not socialism. It's capitalism with taxes.
Yeah, that's capitalism. Yeah. There is no socialized ownership of the means of production. It's just private ownership of the means of production that are taxed to fund, social spending.
Yeah, you
a
could say it's
system or
social
condition of
program.
society in which the means of production are owned and controlled by the state, a system of society or group living in which there was no private property, any of various economic and political theories advocating collective or governmental ownership and administration right, of the means of production and a distribution of goods. So I see.
I think you could argue like
is
a
not-
nationalized healthcare could be socialist.
Oh Jesus! Right,
Wait,
like
hang on.
kind of follow the thought here. When you collect taxes and you redistribute it, right, to those less fortunate, because underneath our capitalist system, the government was never designed, especially at the federal level, to be doing any of the type of welfare that we currently have it doing. As a matter of fact, we have congressmen that in the past that went on the floor of the Senate and have stated that Social Security, which is what you were referencing earlier about retirement, is nothing more than a welfare program. That's it. Right? So, like, this is the philosophy that I want people to kind of think about, right? Is if in our system, right, that we're looking at, what we need is people to be creating wealth so that it can be redistributed, right, at certain levels. I think that if states want to do that, that's fine. But in reality, like, if you want to have a complete socialist government, where does this wealth actually come from? Because if everybody's supposed to be equal in this socialist system, where does any of the wealth come from?
Hang on.
But everybody
all,
being
let me
equal is
just address
communist.
something
That's
real
not
quick.
socialist, though.
Let me also.
Well, I just want to know where the wealth comes from. Where's it come from?
From the
daFRO,
resources of
go
the
ahead.
country. First of all, so the what's it called? You said that the administration and distribution, that the government overseeing that is socialism. Sure. Taxation is not the government overseeing distribution or administration whatsoever. Like, or if it is, can you explain how it is?
Okay, so when you collect taxes to, say, go towards the military or to go towards police or to go towards the roads, right? When they collect the taxes and then they redistribute it, right, by way of government contracts to hire people to do a fucking thing, that's how that gets redistributed. And the administration, right, from the collecting of it to then the redistribution of it, there's administration all along the way, right?
Sure, but like the government contracts that exist or that go out to different companies, these are private companies that are owned by individuals who at the time for the contract have to be under government administration, but just with any other contract, they'd be under the administration or under the guidance of whatever, body that they're doing their contract work for. Like, just because the government is purchasing the services of a contractor does not make that an act of socialism. or a socialist, or make us in a socialist system in general.
Any money that gets redistributed by the government that is not specific for, say, things like infrastructure or defense would be.
I agree.
How? Wait, why?
Because
why is-
socialism, okay, real quick, this is a really easy way to understand it. Capitalism provides access to resources in an economy, okay? That means that any one of us could become rich and buy a house next to Hasan, all right? So what socialism says is that everybody gets an equal starting point. So everybody gets free school lunches, or everybody gets access to the fire department, whatever. That would all be socialist theory. Again, I'm talking about the theory of socialism, not necessarily talking about the practicality. And I totally accept that that is democratic socialist and not socialism. I get it. Meanings of things evolve over time, especially in politics. But socialism as a fundamental theory is a socio-economic state within a democratically elected government.
That doesn't mean anything though. Like that's just democracy. A socio-economic state? Like
Yes.
What is
No, hold on.
even
When
mean
you
to
Okay, but when I say state, I don't mean country. I mean the state of a thing, like the where something is. I don't necessarily mean like nation state.
Okay.
So don't conflate my words. I'm just saying it's a state inside of capitalism.
Unless you have an economic system in which there is no private ownership of the means of production, it's not socialism.
Yeah,
you're describing social democratic policy here.
That's the thing. Like, I understand what you're saying. That like, Marx understood socialism to be like a transitory state to communism, right? But I think something to understand is that social democracy is a big step in between, like our current economy and then socialism. Like the use of markets is a capitalist thing. I guess that you can use markets in socialism, but you have to engage in it much differently with like state-owned
Sure. I think no, I agree. I think the conflation is happening because there's no such thing as a socialist country.
Right.
Okay, you can't have a country
that it always fails. Like so
that is purely socialist, because socialist isn't a governmental structure. It's a socio-economic theory.
No, it's an
democracy.
It's an economic system with a socialized ownership of the means of production.
I feel like
Yes,
we're having trouble like
inside of a democracy or a republic. That's my point.
Or in part of a single party state as well.
But that's why. But democratic socialism is socialism. They're the same thing. We're describing two different things.
But
you could
there's
have
a
a
difference
republic
between
socialism.
Social democracy and democratic socialism are not the same thing.
Hey, can I step in here for a moment? Since we cannot seem to come to an agreement and consensus on what socialism is and isn't, why don't we just say to hell with it, stick to conservatism, that word, and just tweak what needs to be tweaked and let this guy have his damn mansion. Kudos to him. And I will say, though, just because he has a mansion worth whatever it is, 2.7, 3.2, doesn't matter to me, doesn't mean that's actually what he spent. There's a thing called mortgage, and it means that he was credited with that and will spend over time, which is ridiculous. But I just hope, that Twitch is good enough to him that he can afford property tax and not get foreclosed on. Just a thought there.
Yeah, I
he'll
mean,
be
I
fine.
agree.
He's rich as fuck.
Okay, well, I agree with Preacher on that to a degree, but what we really need to do is like, instead of just talking about like what words fucking mean, we really just need to focus on policy. What actually matters to actually change things. It doesn't matter what the word means at the end of the day. You can call whatever. You can call a duck a goose. I don't care. But
Well, it matters because the language is what is it. Like, I've had so many conversations with people that are using a completely different language to describe things than it was when I was growing up. And hell, that really wasn't that long ago, right? I'm pushing 40, but like you young kids that are coming up are using a different language to describe things than what it was for me growing up. Like, we never talked about positive and negative rights in the past, right? It
That's
was the
awfully
government.
cringe.
the government is framed in the way that it is because the government has certain responsibilities and is supposed to stay within the bounds of that responsibility, not just keep pushing more and more power to the top. In reality, what we have now is we have a whole bunch of people advocating for socialism, especially right at the federal level, or democratic socialism, when all that really ends up accomplishing at the end of the day is taking more power away from the individual. So that, like, the farce in all of this, right, is we have socialists that are advocating for government to have all this power that ends up taking more power actually away from the individual, right? And then the individuals are left here at the end of the day that the socialists would actually want to have the most of the power, which is why they're advocating on behalf of workers, the ones that are doing the fucking work. But in reality, whenever the government gets all of this control, all they're going to do is fucking own everybody. And now the workers are they're just fucking workers. It ain't like they're getting any more benefit for the work that they put in.
I mean, so if you actually want to have a look at the way in which individuals have power to actually shape their own life, and if you have a look at something, I don't know, like a social mobility index, for example, where we actually have a look at which people can move through economic strata. Like, I'm not a social democrat, I'm a socialist, but you have a look at social democratic countries like in the Nordic countries, and they're just like leagues ahead of anywhere like the UK or the US is with regards to social mobility. The fact that the idea that someone in America has the chance to create their own life is just, it doesn't actually make any tangible sense when you actually look at the state of the life that the people on the working class have to go through, and how hard it is for them to escape their economic strata, right? When you have a look at countries with large amounts of social welfare programs, they have much higher social mobility, which I think personally gives somebody more right to express their own individual life, right?
Social mobility is not you don't escape that through social welfare programs. You escape that by giving people the opportunities, right? Ensuring that the opportunities are there, that if the individual wants to be able to accomplish something in their life that is meaningful for them, that they can absolutely do that. Now, what's been happening?
Those opportunities, it creates a better starting point.
Now, what's been happening here in the United States is there's been a driving off of a lot of manufacturing jobs, and then like a lot of the poorest of Americans are being left behind because they couldn't get the money necessary to be able to go to college, right, to get the education for a job that they might want. So then you just say, oh, well, just collect up more tax money and give it to them for that. Well, that doesn't actually like solve some of the problems that you might want. Like, you still need somebody to fix your fucking air conditioner. I'm living down here in Central Florida right now. If I didn't have a fucking air conditioner, are you shitting me? Right? That's why I know how to fix my own fucking air conditioner. Right? So, like, at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of jobs that need to still be happening and doing here. There needs to be more manufacturing that is happening here, right, in the United States. But what has been happening is that through the politicians getting into office, they have had no problem driving that manufacturing to other countries that can exploit slave labor, right, so that we can get cheaper products here. That's exactly what's been happening, and this is where we end up having like shit goods made from China that last for like 6 months, and then you got to replace it versus actually buying something quality to begin with.
Well, it would be the same. I wouldn't think there'd be like a huge quality difference, but that's just the world catching up so that they can get, because that's them getting a job and then us getting a cheaper product is beneficial to both parties.
Not if you drive off all the jobs. Not if you drive off all the jobs.
They weren't driven off.
Listen. Not if you drive off all the jobs, and they were, because those
you just saying it doesn't make it
true. So if you drive off all, I'm gonna keep saying it until you stop saying it, right? So like,
doesn't make it true.
They drive off the jobs, right, so that the slave labor can be exploited in other parts of the world, right? And they did through the passing of NAFTA. Thank you very much.
They drove across the oceans.
Oh my God! No, you actually sail across oceans.
Well, then they sailed them away. They didn't drive them away.
Well, that's why I'm not saying sail. That my asshole. Got him. Let me hit the stream deck.
Got him.
Right. Got him. Right. So because we've had no problem exploiting slave labor, right, in other parts of the world to bring back cheaper quality parts here, like you would say that, well, this is the rest of the world catching up. What it's actually doing is it's allowing an exploitation of our market, because the jobs of the Americans that were here, that were doing those jobs before, are no longer here, right? So then all of the people that are still here are still scrambling to try to find the jobs and careers that they could do, which is exactly, right, me understanding all of this this is why it is that me and my wife live in a 43-foot 5-slide travel trailer, and we drive and move to where the best opportunities are for us, because there's just not as many fucking jobs in the manufacturing areas in which there were before. This is why you have major cities that used to be central hubs like fucking Detroit. Used to be a huge fucking hub for auto manufacturing, and it's just not as much as it was anymore. There's a lot of places in the country that are just like that because those jobs were sent overseas.
Yeah, so those
live in
people
one
that
of
lost
those.
those jobs, they just hadn't got a job since. It was perpetual unemployment since then.
No, they're underemployed, most likely.
No, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in the auto
mean,
Do you
industry, at
deny that
least,
there's a wage gap?
And then you look at, like the types of government programs you get, or not government programs, but the legislation that gets put in place, right? Like say like the difference between a W-4 and a 1099 worker, right? 1099, you're responsible for all of your medical insurance taxes, right? But if you're a W-4, you only got to pay half, and then the employer has to pay half, right? So like right there, you're incentivized to be employed by someone else than you are to actually be an entrepreneur. Right there's a shit policy from the start. It ends up affecting, say, like the truck driving industry a fucking lot. We've got a lot of fucking morons in government that don't understand a damn thing when it happens down to the common everyday folk.
Well, and that was a big thing that Obamacare strove to. I'm a 1099, so I work for myself, so I totally get it, and it sucks. And that was a big thing that Obamacare wanted to fix, was to provide healthcare for people like me, that I don't have an employer to help pay my healthcare costs, right? So installing something like that would be socially democratic, I suppose, or democratically social. And it's a big reason why I personally am in favor of universal healthcare, because it would help me. But I think that I can be a person who makes nice money. I'm not rich or anything, but I do fine. And I can look at other people who aren't and say, you know what? What's happening to them, the situation that they're in, is unfair. And I want to see it change with the tax money that I'm spending. I don't think that is hypocritical for me to say that and also make money.
Well, let me help you
You
out
just
there.
described the German and Japanese, and I think the Swiss healthcare system, by the way.
I'm going to help Ethan out here for a moment because I see you got a hell of a nice setup sitting there right behind you, and it looks really nice.
Hey,
and if you'll notice,
it cost me almost $10 or
I can
$20.
tell. Well, let me tell you something. I've got like a $7 black sheet hanging behind me. So let's cut the government out of this. Don't worry about your tax dollars. Come on over and donate on my channel. You're helping out somebody else where you're looking at them. You don't want to see me in this situation.
donate to me. I'm trying to move out.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'll make my rounds. Rounds.
There you go. There you go. Spread the wealth, baby. Spread the wealth.
Also, the inventor of the air conditioner is a statue in Statuary Hall, submitted by Florida. So yeah, it's pretty important in Florida.
Yeah, I grew up in Florida. It's you need it.
So one thing I wanted to say about the the whole loss of manufacturing jobs, I mean, like maybe there is something to us losing our manufacturing at such a rapid pace, and not properly making sure that there are other opportunities within certain cities like Detroit or Cleveland or these different places, and but however, I think that there, in this day and age, there needs to be a push for a modernization of the United States economy. There doesn't necessarily need to be a reason for us to do manufacturing. Obviously we need it in a lot of places, and it should exist for as much as the market demands it. But as what's it called, automation comes in, and for a number of different industries, different opportunities that are going to require different types of education are going to open up. And so maybe we should rather invest in trade schools and colleges in different ways. And I don't know if Sweden or Finland does this, but to make sure that they're, because the thing is that Artie Zoid is right, that the jobs that people have in these third world countries, they may seem really shitty, and there are certainly things that we can do in trade agreements to make sure that those working conditions are much better. However, the factory job that some Malaysian person would have is astronomically, like the pay is way higher than if they were to continue like being farmers or working in some other menial, well, I won't say menial job, but like hard labor job or whatever. And manufacturing is tough labor too, for sure. But yeah.
Well, I was
No,
going
I
to say
agree.
though,
I think we need-
sorry, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think we need another New Deal, and maybe we should paint it green. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I wonder what would have happened to all of those manufacturing jobs if the big companies who did that, who had the manufacturing jobs, were owned and run by the workers rather than capital owners or shareholders or boards of directors who made profit-driven decisions to move those jobs overseas so they could pay their employees less. Whereas if all these workers democratically run the company and were directors and owners of a cooperative business, all of those jobs would have stayed in the United States and to a lesser extent the UK.
I don't
Just
think
because
they
they're
would have.
workers doesn't mean they
Yeah,
can't
but that's
do
a
math. They'll
bad
still
thing.
make profit decisions.
I think no matter what.
Sorry,
Well,
people talked over
I'm
that.
sorry. If you're a worker and you want ownership in the company or whatever you may call it, well then maybe you should learn to invest and take the risks that the owners have. Because I'll be damned if I'm building my painting business up, putting my blood, sweat, and tears into all of it, making the risk with my financial investments, and someone's going to hire and say, you know what, I think I deserve a part of this. Well, come kiss my ass, go down the road.
I don't know if this really applies to like small businesses like that. But also like a thing to keep in mind is that like banks have like a really high bar for like giving out loans to like co-ops and stuff. So like it's at least in America. So it's like it's pretty hard for co-ops to form in that sense. But also like go ahead.
I was going to say, if you had something like the Marcora law, like they had in Italy, where people who were on welfare could take up a lump sum of their benefits in conjunction with other people on benefits to start a cooperative business, that would be a good policy. I mean, it wouldn't create socialism overnight, but it would at least lead to, the formation of more cooperative businesses.
I can't
really
think
quick,
of a
no
single
justice.
job that I've held. Sorry, I can't think of a single job that I've held where I would want my coworkers making decisions on behalf of the company. That seems
Well,
outrageous.
It's called a union. They exist everywhere. No justice,
That's
by
not
the way.
a
My chat,
union.
I would say
my chat
Wait, if
loves
they
you.
exist,
Oh my
if
God.
they exist everywhere, then how is it that I've been able to make my way through the world and never be a part of a union?
I'm not saying they. Okay, maybe everywhere was a little bit of a generalization.
America,
There are
What
police
country
unions,
has
there are teachers
stupid right
unions,
to work laws?
there are lots of unions. Yeah, exactly.
And a
We have
union
right to
doesn't
work
even
laws,
run the company. They're worker advocates. They don't run the company.
but
Right.
maybe they
And
should.
I'm going to tell you why they shouldn't, because here's an issue I have as a painter. Okay, I'm in Pennsylvania, like I said, right? If I were to go across the border where I used to live in Jersey and I tried painting on my own, I'd literally be physically bounced off a job. Me, as a small business painting contractor, could not get that work. Why? Because it's all unionized. And if I tried to touch it, I would have a lot of issues. I'm sorry, but unions do nothing but damage the little guy.
I
I'd
think
like to
that
point out, I
there are
think
some-
we may have killed Mr. Geek.
No, he's there. He's chilling.
No, it's good.
We're like music to his ears, and he's just taking a rest.
Just checking in on him.
I'm listening.
I think that there are good things and bad things to unions for sure. Like because obviously they're not all good. Like obviously like a lot of lefties have issues with the police union, and also there's what's it called? There's the largest like solar farm in California. I don't know what the news is on that, but last time I checked, like it wasn't opening because the union workers of the coal plants that were being used lobbied against it. You know what I mean? Like they successfully lobbied against it. So, and I'd say that is like keeping us, like holding us back from, at least addressing climate change, which is like pretty bad. But
Yeah, so like I'm glad you brought up the banks earlier, right? And it seems to be that like there's a lot of conversation on the left with regard to like how you really don't like big corporations, right? And that's like kind of the boogeyman, which you know what? I can definitely see where you're going with that, right? But like what I don't understand is that in the same breath, you'll sit there and be pushing for the nationalization, right, of a particular industry rather than keeping the sovereignty of things inside the state. Because if you kept the sovereignty of things inside the state, it would force the corporation to be much smaller and wouldn't allow it to get to the point that it is, right? This is specifically where, like, like if, like, for instance, before Like, I remember a time before Walmart, there was not a Walmart in every fucking city in the United States. I remember a time where that was not the case. Anybody else here besides Ethan?
Oh, hell yeah.
Preacher? Right? There was a time in this country, folks, where there was not a Walmart in every single fucking town. But now that there is, what has happened? All the mom and pop grocery stores or the smaller chains or whatever, like Food Lion, has pretty much made its way on out. Right here in the South, you still got a few Piggly Wigglies running around. You still got, like some Ingles, right? That's more like North Carolina, North Georgia. You know what I mean? But they're just not as prevalent as Walmart. But what's happened there? You end up with lobbyists getting into power, and they want to be able to get a few things pushed in their direction, right? This is going to allow the nationalization of a particular industry. And then guess what? All the small business owners all over the country are now affected by this nationalization of things because you allowed the corporation to be able to grow to the power that it has. And then what do we end up getting at Walmart? We end up getting a bunch of cheaper made Chinese products or wherever they're coming from, right? So that we can get a good value for our money, right? And what we're left with here at the end of the day is them controlling a lot of the labor market and the products that we need to fucking live, right?
Well, moreover, I want to add to something. A lot of these townships were promised a certain amount of property taxes by the Walmarts that came in, and Targets, other big box stores, but we're talking about Walmart right now. And now they're backing off. They're saying, oh, well, initially it was $500,000. Now they're saying, well, we can only give you $350,000. So it's not just hurting the workforce, it's actually hurting the tax revenue that was supposed to come into these municipalities that isn't.
Walmart doesn't set the tax rate. Blame the government.
Also, wait, this you're attacking stuff from what's it called? Like, how did the government? Let me just ask you this question: CTV? Let me ask you this question: how did the government help Rockefeller? Get a virtual monopoly in the oil industry. Like, you're saying that, like, with government intervention, this is what pushes monopolies to form. Like, that's what you said, right? Like,
okay, so since you want to, has anybody else talked about Rockefeller before this point?
No.
Okay, good. I got no problem talking about Rockefeller, though. We can go back to before that, where Vanderbilt built the fucking railroads, right? And Vanderbilt and Rockefeller were getting in business together to begin with, and then Rockefeller was like, "Why the fuck am I paying all this money for trains to be hauling this oil all over the place?" So then he starts laying pipe.
Yeah.
Right,
so he's laying pipe all along. Right?
He said that he needed to lay some pipe to be able to move this product, right? So then from there, right, after you've already laid miles and miles and miles of pipe, now you've got, shit. We got, how much pipe we got laid in this country? We lay a lot of pipe. There is no doubt. We lay some pipe here in the United States, right? So then, like, when you get to the point to where Standard Oil, right, was the company that Rockefeller had brought to fruition, and this had a lot to do with his distilling practices of oil to be able to separate the fucking kerosene from everything else, right?
Very important.
You get to
lay. Oh.
All right, what did you say?
I was just gonna make a joke, but
well, then make the fucking joke. I stopped.
Okay, fine.
Fucking lay that pipe, buddy. Lay it.
It's very important that we lay pipe in this country, because if you lay the pipe, it can also lead to the erect decks, and you can get moisture on the garden, and it can be very fertile. And it's very important to have a fertile garden.
It's true, but you don't want the oil mixing with the water, though. You don't want to mix the oil and water, though. Right?
Why?
So
you can't mix oil and water.
No, not why. Why are we talking about this?
Yeah,
because you fell asleep and we had to wake you up.
So look.
By the way, Rockefeller.
So Rockefeller, right, as he's expanding his business, at this point in history, there was not a lot of government fucking prevention in any of this stuff. The country itself had not fucking grown up, right? It was going through the process of growing up.
Industrial Revolution, yeah.
Right, which is also like, let me ask you this question. Where did time zones come from? Who actually did that?
I don't know.
No, that one was me. That was my bad. I'm sorry.
Fuck.
That was the railroads. A lot of people don't know that. It was actually the railroads that set standard time because, it's hard to schedule trains whenever you don't have standard time. So it's because of the railroads we ended up with the time system that we have. Most people think it's farmers. It's not. So when Standard Oil got as big as it was through the expansion of its corporation, there's actually nothing at all fucking wrong with that in our system, but there were a lot of people that didn't like the concentration of the business there. So then all that ended up happening through the antitrust laws was just a breaking apart of the same company. So now it's not Standard Oil, now it's Exxon, now it's Texaco, now it's all these other fucking countries, Mobile, like BP, maybe not BP, but you get the idea, right? A whole bunch of fucking oil companies come along, and that's the separation that happens as a result of the breaking apart of Standard Oil. Now, as a result, right, of that, what should have been happening with regard to some of the other ones like Walmart or maybe not Amazon, because there's a lot of more web-based stuff, right? But maybe some of these other ones, they could have prevented the lobbyists from being able to pass laws that made it easier for them to set up the types of networks that nationalize the corporation itself versus it having to go like state to state, region to region and do things. But now it's just like, well, we got Walmart approved in the United States. There's a fucking Walmart everywhere. Fuck it.
You know what's funny is actually my job, real quick, in order to do my job, I have to have a license, right? And I have to have a separate license in each state. But if I was to do my job as a corporation, I could just get one license. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Can't you just file as an
let's not forget. Let's not forget about the Dollar General taking over every corner too.
So, but wait, hang on. So, CTV, you were saying earlier though that like the government intervention is what leads to the monopolies, right? But like if you are at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution when these rules didn't exist and you're able to, gain a monopoly, like what is?
It's not like. Yeah, it's not like that there's a system where no rules is preferable. It's about having the right amount of rules and where, right? This is where I talk a lot about the separation of powers between the federal government and the state government and county and city and town, right? All of these jurisdictions needs to have certain amounts of power, and the most concentration of the power needs to be as close to the individual as possible, which would be your town and your city and your county. Right? This is where you need to be looking at for most of the things that affect you. Your state would be the next level, right? And then like we've also gotten further away from that by the passing of the 17th Amendment to the point now to where we have direct vote for our senators, but that was never the way in which our system was designed to operate. It's supposed to be the House of Representatives. It's where you can get your direct vote. That's supposed to be the hot sauce, the hot fucking cup of tea, right? That rests on the saucer, which is the Senate, right? The Senate was meant to have not only the individual voting, right, by way of their state House and Senate representatives, but then the state House. The state House and Senate representatives would vote for who is going to be the senator, and then that senator, right, would be representing the individual and the state legislature in the federal government. The reality of the situation is now the state legislatures in each of the 50 states don't have any representation at all in the federal House of Congress because of the 17th Amendment. So the state legislatures are sitting there spinning their wheels inside their own fucking government, right, inside their state, not able to fucking do anything that would need to be done, or maybe like say talk to other states about doing stuff, or to be able to prevent the type of nationalization of corporations that we're seeing. And yet the people are still not understanding how, like, the simple philosophy of you need to have the state legislatures involved with your Senate, because the Senate is supposed to be the fucking brakes that slows down the House and says, hey, buddy, the federal government's not actually supposed to be doing this.
And with that being said, we're going to go into closing statement. And since it's the last topic, don't forget to shout yourself out, tell people where they can find you and everything. But before that, I really want to say thank you to everyone who participated in this panel. I really appreciate all of you being here, and please, for the people in chat, wherever you are, whatever your community is, go follow all of our wonderful panelists, whether you agree or disagree, go engage with them, go check out their content, it doesn't, a follow doesn't cost a lot, and it always helps. We got some people here who are starting on Twitch, so yeah, go show some support. And with that being said, because I think yeah, let's go into closing statement and shout out. And we're going to start with MrG2EK, who almost fell asleep.
Thanks for having me back for the reopening of the recruitment show. I'm Zoid. I usually play games, but every once in a while I'll find my way onto one of these panels. As for the closing, I'll just say socialism is dumb, capitalism is cool. If you like poor people not being poor, then be a capitalist. If you like everybody being poor and dying and not fed, then be a socialist.
All right. I'm going to throw it to CTV.
All right, y'all. Well, I am critically thinking veteran. Short acronym, make it easy on yourself. CTV, right? I facilitate the Wolfpack, the conservative community here on Twitch, and for any panel that I am on, obviously the conservative main boss, right? I appreciate everybody coming tonight and having a good hearty discussion with me. I always appreciate enlightened individuals as yourself coming around and having some good conversation. So feel free to come by the Wolf's Den so we can do this again in the future. That all being said, it's just a damn shame that the grift is so hard on the left with regard to Hasan that there is so much justification trying to be given to this man for not holding to the shit that he's been saying. It's just ridiculous, right? If you really want to support someone that would actually put more socialist principles, right, as in like taking care of community and stuff into practice, give your money to CTV and I'll buy fucking old abandoned malls, right? Turn it into fucking residential housing and RV parks out there in the fucking parking lot. And the next thing you know, I'm facilitating 5, 10, 20,000 fucking people around a fucking old abandoned mall and actually doing something with it versus what Hasan's going to do, right? Which is just, you know, have a pool with his fucking buddies, right? That's it. So with all that being said, since I am the conservative main boss, I'm going to dip out because Geek is awesome and daNoRthCountryman fucking fucked up the second question. daNoRthCountryman, I'm holding you responsible. That question was shit. Come up with something better. And you know what? As a matter of fact, the third topic was shit too, daNoRthCountryman. Come on, man. I need something better. I need it better, daNoRthCountryman. Come on, bro. So anyway, I love everybody. Appreciate you being here.
Hey,
and
CTV.
Wait, CTV.
That's great mania.
CTV, real quick.
CTV.
Real quick. First of all, like, yeah, go follow CTV and everything. Second of all, are you going to stay live or do you have to go now?
Oh, I'm going to stay live for a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know. I read you.
Okay, cool. All right. So since I got interrupted, right? Everybody understand at this moment, CTV out.
Hell yeah, you have a good one. And unironically, go to his Discord, 69 Acre Woods. You can find him like twitch.tv, critically thinking veteran. There will be a link. He's an awesome dude, always here to help. And if you help panels, the reason most panels happen, like on the Dylan Sphere, is because you have people like CTV who are willing to jump. So yeah, thank you for him. Thank you to him for that because yeah, he's always here to help and he saved many, 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 many shows. So yeah. With that being said, I'm going to pray to No Justice MTG.
Yeah, so yeah, my name's No Justice. I stream politics stuff. I talk about mostly Britbonger politics, to be fair. Streaming evening UK time, so that's afternoon US time, or probably early, just early afternoon Pacific. You can follow me on Twitter, which is that handle there. There's a link to my link tree there, which has all the rest of my socials. You can follow it there. As for the actual subject matter, again, as I said in my opening statement, socialism is mostly a critique of production, not consumption. Could Hasan do more? Absolutely. Is he obligated to under his own moral philosophy? No. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say on that one. And thank you, Geek and Tana, both for the invite. It's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate all the other panelists as well.
Yeah, thank you to you for being here because you're kind of in the same boat as me, which is that like it should be 1 a.m. or something like that for you. So yeah, it's starting to be late. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. All right, I'm going to throw it to daFRO.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me on. My name is daFRO or Anthony, and I'm like a sock dem. I play games mostly, and I'll probably stream politics more often on different panels and stuff. It's daFRO with 2 underscores on Twitch, and then just daFRO Oh, and then on Twitter as well. So yeah,
All right.
thank you.
You're welcome. And yeah, people go follow daFRO, go follow XUSR, go follow all of these people that you've never heard of, but you heard their take for the first time tonight, you know? So yeah, go show some love. Speaking of XUSR,
Yeah. Again, thanks for having me on the panel. It's kind of my first time. I didn't really speak on the last topic, but it's kind of interesting. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at II_USR_II. I know it's a great name. It's great, great handle. Twitch official_USR, and then yeah. I really enjoyed the panel. I also come from a conservative background, so it was kind of cool hearing other conservatives talk, voice their opinions. So it kind of echoed how I grew up originally, like what my parents talked to me about. But yeah, I appreciate everyone on the panel. It's great hearing everyone speak. And I'm happy to be on one of these again. Thank you.
you're welcome and happy to have you on. I'm going to throw it to Preacher with his wonderful yellow shirt.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. I greatly appreciate it. I know it was last minute, but I appreciate it anyway. My first time on here. Good meeting all you guys. And I will ask if you guys can somehow, maybe in one of the Discord things, put your information, because I'm horrible at finding it this way on the fly. I would like to give you guys a follow. I am Preacher570. That's my channel. If you follow me over there, then I'll just follow you right back. I do Monday through Friday. Colonel Dan raids into me at 11 o'clock, and I go to 1 o'clock. I do talk politics. I'm trying to pull more away from politics and go with other stuff. I love history. Obviously, as fat as I am, I obviously love food. I love cooking. I want to start talking about that too. It was great being here. My sentiments on that last subject was, like I said, I don't know the dude and his whole situation. I'm a capitalist, so good for him. He made some money. He's got a nice house. Happy for him. I'm not going to hate on him. But yeah, I appreciate being here. And when I do my show, I do it out of CTV's Infinity Acre Woods. It's just much easier to keep us all in that one little spot where we can all keep up with each other. So thanks for having me on, Geek. I really appreciate you guys. And
Yeah.
Annabelle.
And Colonel Dan is a name well known in the Hippy Dippy community. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When it came to Afghanistan, CTV and I were probably cheating because we had a lot of information from him, and he is former. Well, he's 32-year retired military with boots on the ground and that stuff. So we cheated. Sorry.
Debate tactics, Jesus.
Wow. The right being ruthless and ready to everything to win a debate. Wow.
Also known as being prepared.
We don't do that on debate.
All right.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Ethan.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you to all the panelists. I had a lot of fun. I am Ethan Plays Live on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and all the places. I interviewed Wreck-It Raven recently on my YouTube channel, and ever since I've been getting hate rated. So if you come watch me on Twitch, I'm usually in sub-only mode. It's not that I don't want to talk to you guys. It's just that it's the only way for me to combat them currently. But if you follow me on Twitter, you check me out on YouTube. I like talking to new people that are new to the channel. It's just unfortunately I got to set my Twitch channel to that right now. But again, thank you for having me, and thank you to all the panelists. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And we're going to throw it to n0rthcountryman.
Yes, I'm n0rthcountryman. I typically try to stream on Sundays, just on Sunday, because I'm trying to ease myself back into streaming so I don't burn myself out again. Typically, I approach things I just go through the news and cover, what's the stories behind them, what are the fundamentals about politics and government that you might not pick up just from reading that. I try to help make things a bit more approachable. I used to teach politics, so I come from that background. If I'm offering my opinion on anything, it's usually from a neoconservative perspective, which is, for lack of a better word, where I am. And I really do enjoy being on these panels because they help me get better at this whole presenting thing. Because as you can probably tell, I'm not exactly the most extroverted individual, but it's all about personal growth.
Hey, listen.
And that'll do it for me, I think.
From the first panel you were here to now, you made tremendous progress. Like when it comes to speaking, when it comes to like just like engaging with others. So it's super good to see. Hope you had a Hope you had a good panel and can't wait to see for the next. Yeah. With that being said, thank you everyone for being here. Did I forget anyone? Just to be sure. I think I did everyone, but okay, perfect. With that being said, thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye to my chat and yeah, y'all have a good one.